Hey everybody, welcome to the Game Informer Show. We are jumping right in without music because it's an important week. We have a big announcement here at Game Informer. I'm Kyle Hilliard. I've got Charles Harte here and Marcus Stewart. But our most important guest is our editor-in-chief, Matt Miller. We're here to talk about the new subscription service for the print magazine, Game Informer magazine. You can now subscribe directly to the print magazine through us, through Game Informer. Subscription.gameinformer.com. It's a big day for us here when we're recording it. We launched it this morning. We're very excited. Matt, why are we so excited about this thing?
I'm glad you're excited, Kyle. I'm super
am.
excited about it too. It's been a long time coming. I think we are stoked because it's really the first time we've had that standalone program, independent of any other programs, loyalty programs, or anything like that. Just a way to completely support Game Informer and all the things that we do across the board. A subscription to the magazine is a way to support the Game Informer show, the other videos we do, the reviews we write, the daily news we put up, everything. Then it's the number one way that we now have to offer to our loyal readers and viewers and followers to engage with what we're doing and to support that effort. I also think, though, that unlike some places out there where what you're paying for is like, yeah, we're asking for support, right? We are asking for that, but we're also throwing in what I think is a pretty awesome gaming magazine that comes to your mailbox. 10 times a year. We've got 10 issues every year that come out, and you get to read all the stuff that we do each month in those issues. And what we do, especially if one of the chief ways that you engage with Game Informer is here through the Game Informer show, it's possible that you haven't seen some of the things that we've been focusing on in the magazine in the last few years. And I think we're going to talk about that just a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're really proud of the magazine. Like, we put one out, we put 10 out a year, and we put a lot of work into it. And this is the primary way to support us now and, like, show that you like us. I hope you like us.
I hope if you're listening and watching that you do like us, and that, like, and the message is getting across that if that's the case, for a very modest, what I think is a very modest fee, you can keep us alive and going, right? We're asking for, $19.91 for a full year subscription. It's a little,
now, Matt, that's
little clever.
A weird price. Why?
It's
why
a
is
weird
that price.
That's how long we've been around, right? Like we were founded in 1991. We are, Game Informer is one of the longest standing outlets that covers video games that is still around, and we're really proud of that. And we try to stand by the legacy of professionalism and relationships with game industry folks that have been sort of a hallmark of what we do. There's lots of folks who've come through the door at Game Informer, many of whom we're still very close friends with, right? And who've moved on to other roles in the games industry in many cases. And so that legacy, I think it means something important. I take it really seriously as the EIC over here. That we're trying to maintain that and keep it going for another 30 plus years into the future. But that less than $20 a year subscription is the way to do it. It's the only way that we'll do it. That's less than $2 an issue, right? I think we were joking and laughing a little bit the other day that, like, fast food prices and coffee shop prices are such that you pretty much spend that in a morning going to get your breakfast sandwich and a coffee. Like, you're pretty close to $19 right there. And that's what we're saying for a whole year of all, every issue is 84 pages. We always have exclusive cover stories. We always have often other exclusives on previews and features and things like that you can't see anywhere else. We've got profiles and retrospectives and features about the people who are making games, insights directly from them, where we're interviewing the people from Japan and from Europe and from the United States and from Canada, all over the world, sometimes in person, that we go and visit them to get that insight and share it in the magazine. I have been here now myself for about 20 years. And the reason I stay is because of that. Like, I love that magazine, and I love the way that it deepens and enriches somebody's gaming hobby. And I hope that's the case for people. I really do. I hope when they subscribe, they get the issues, and they find that like the games that they're playing are made better because they understand more about how they're made, where they came from, what inspired them, all that stuff. That's where we try to put our big focus.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that sets us apart from our competition is this print magazine, and we love the way it looks. We have production designers on staff that make it look amazing. Every issue, like I just throw words in there and then they make it look amazing. That's like exactly. That's all Charles and Marcus and I do.
Yeah, and not I think it's also worth mentioning that while our focus here has been on trying to make sure that we have a new standalone way to deliver the print magazine to people, we also are trying to make sure that it's a way of kind of having all access to Game Informer, to all the things that we do. And that includes the digital version of the magazine. If you want the print magazine, you still want to get it, and you want to throw it on your coffee table or on your toilet or next to your bed or wherever it is you like to read.
To be clear.
Just
right. Next to it.
Then you get that, but if you also want to be able to read it on your phone or your tablet or on your laptop or whatever, you're also getting digital access, right? We're providing, you can get that, you can read the new issue that way as well, mix and match, however you like, right? We really wanted this to be the definitive way that somebody could both support us, but also get access to everything that we do. There's a lot of other stuff that we do that's free, right? Including this show and a lot of the videos we put out, the news we put up on the website. And that's enabled by whatever support we get through our subscriptions. So, I think it's a pretty good deal. Obviously, we worked it out to try to be the best deal that we possibly could have it be for folks. And I hope people are stoked about it the way that we are.
And to sign up for it, subscription.gameinformer.com, and then it's a year for $19.91, and there is also a 2-year option as well if you want to commit.
Yeah, even more savings if you go to 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it goes $34.99. I think is what we go to.
Yeah.
So you basically get it. Get a pretty good deal there, I think. We talked a little bit about some of the stuff that you get out of that magazine. I think it's worth highlighting for a moment just what that means. It's not lip service, right? Like we are a pretty small staff for a group that pulls together a magazine and a website and these videos and the Game Informer show and all that stuff. We work really hard to make it happen. And we also involve contributors that I've been really pleased with the work we've done with contributors and freelance writers in these last couple of years from all around the world, right? We're bringing in perspectives and diverse voices talking about games that, again, you're not going to be able to get other places. And I think a brief look at just recent issues of the magazine helped to play that out a little bit. We have exclusive cover stories on stuff like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that super cool recent look at No Rest for the Wicked, this awesome game from the people who made Ori. We've got stuff like Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Yeah, Charles has got that most recent issue that just came through here.
Version. He's trying to get them all.
Get them in there. Diablo 4 last year. We had Final Fantasy 16 last year. We had Kyle, you did an awesome story on Sea of Stars last year.
Yeah.
Back even a little further, you get stuff like Street Fighter 6, Bayonetta 3, God of War Ragnarok. I mean, we make a point to talk to the...
Matt, you're going too fast for Charles.
That's fine. It's good. It's a good bit.
We talk about a lot of games, and we have relationships with the, literally the greatest game developers in the world, and we're constantly talking with them to see if there's some big story we can tell with them that you can't see anywhere else. But beyond that stuff, we're also doing things like, each year, I think a lot of people get excited about our best of the year stuff. That plays out in the magazine. We do, our most anticipated games where we talk, give people a chance to kind of look ahead at the year ahead. Did that most recently. And we have features on stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. There's stuff like, I was really proud last year we had a piece on the gaming scene in Nigeria, right? We had stuff on retrospectives on things like the history of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in video games, and the world of hip hop and its connections to gaming. We had stuff on like the emerging complexities of AI and gaming, that kind of thing. We talked about fighting games and accessibility. We had this whole feature talking about the way that people who have accessibility challenges are able to get into fighting games these days. Just all kinds of stuff that we do, as well as talking to people who, are moving and shaking the industry, right? Like the creator of Hi-Fi Rush, the creators of Like a Dragon, the people who made The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, we're talking to the leads of those teams month in, month out to try to bring those insights. And then we put them in the magazine. Like you say, we have some awesome graphic designers who we hope are able to make it look really cool.
Shout out Lele and Monica.
Absolutely. And make it worth that, getting that feeling that, I remember getting when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, when I was an adult, that like you kind of look forward to actually getting something in the mail that's got that new thing that you can look at.
That's like growing up. The two mails I looked forward to were the DVDs that came from Netflix and Game Informer magazine. Those are like the two things and I remember like when I stopped getting it in like college or whatever because I moved away from home, I just like didn't check the mail because it wasn't as much to be excited about.
The mail didn't matter anymore.
Yeah. That's right. Make the mail matter. That's what we're pushing. Matter.
I think there's something to be said for that, right? Like I obviously, even right now here on the Game Informer show, we've embraced all the other stuff that's a part of covering games, videos, website coverage, all that stuff. We think that's awesome. It's a great way to learn about, day-to-day news about gaming and all that kind of stuff. But I do really believe in my heart of hearts that there's still a special place for the gaming magazine that comes in the mail that you can like sit and be like, you know what, I really want to read about this, right? Like I want to know, I want to hear from the people who made Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and have them talk about like this game that's about to come out, and share some understanding of how they made it, why they made the decisions they did, and all that kind of stuff. In many cases, in kind of that longer form, written way, and get to see some awesome screenshots and art. I think it's still a great experience. And I think we're banking and we're hoping that that's the case for a lot of you as well. And if it is, it's pretty cheap. It's, less than $20. So that's my pitch, right? Like I don't want us to get lost in trying to oversell things to all of you loyal listeners out there and viewers who watch the Game Informer show all the time. But I do want you to understand that if it's entertaining, if you like seeing us talk about this stuff, this is the way to keep it happening, right? This definitively is the way to show your support and, like I said, get something pretty cool in the mail every month as a side benefit.
Yeah, hell yeah. Marcus, you like the magazine, right? You haven't had much chance to talk, right?
Yes, I love the magazine. It was the first magazine I was ever subscribed to for video games way back in early 2000s. So I've been subscribed forever, which is why working here was a dream come true over 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
I'm super proud of everything that not only that I've done, but what everyone else has done and continues to do each month in the magazine, as well as our amazing freelancers, the work that they've done over the last year or so. It's awesome. And in an age of print media being like harder to find these days, I know there's a lot of people that still want to support physical magazines and just physical media. So I'm always happy that we're one of the last huge bastions for that. So even that for people that I think it's another incentive to subscribe, because even I still love picking up like a physical book or a physical magazine to read. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, we do a lot of work. Just that image. People probably don't think about this a lot, but that image we put on the cover each month is the result of often hours of conversation with artists and game developers as they craft something that would be a worthy addition to that long history of covers that you can see in the Game Informer cover gallery if you ever want to go check it out. A lot of magazines out there cover their covers with text and words and cell lines and all that kind of stuff, and we like to put the focus on like awesome art, because we kind of think that the people who still really want print magazines, they want to be able to get that thing in the mail and look at it and be like, that's cool. That's I'm going to put that out on my table, and like for the next month while it's sitting there, that's a pretty slick thing that I've got there, and it makes me want to pick it up. And that continues to be the way that we sort of approach making those covers. Not to mention the games that we choose to highlight is a big part of my job. Is just a nearly constant conversation on a day-to-day basis with developers all over the world, publishers all over the world, about like what they've got coming next and whether there might be an opportunity to do something cool. So I hope that has value for people. It does for me. If I wasn't working at Game Informer, I would be a subscriber.
Yeah.
So
just a reminder, subscription.gameinformer.com. I think we've actually even rearranged the homepage to kind of make sure that you can see reminders that you can subscribe. But it's $19.91 for 10 issues for the next year. And I think if you're subscribing shortly after this episode airs, you'll get the next issue, the one that we have not announced yet. So subscription.gameinformer.com. And Matt, thanks for coming on the show, making some time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you guys are gonna field some questions here shortly.
Yeah, that's the plan for episode 700. It's a big one.
That's wild.
A huge one.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for letting me share my thoughts here, and I hope to everybody out there who's listening, whether you choose to subscribe or not, that you enjoy what we're doing over here at Game Informer. We really appreciate your support just in watching the show and listening. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah. And now we're gonna hit play on the proper intro music.
Hey, welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us each and every week as we discuss the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals with Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I am your host, Marcus Stewart. I am joined by Kyle Hilliard. How are you?
Hey, I'm here back for what we just listened to is like the prequel. This is like part 1. Right? Is that?
It's like the
what
was
prologue.
the
there you go.
Yeah, like a prologue, the PT of the episode, playable teaser. Yeah, you picked up the phone and it said the Game Informer Show. Came out the other way. Everyone's favorite Norman Reedus lookalike, Charles Harte, is here too.
What?
Speaking of PT,
I think it does have the.
you got some Norman Reedus in you, in that you are both human.
I'll
facial
take
hair,
it.
kind of close-ish.
I don't think I have enough of a grasp on Norman Reedus.
Do you like
to
babies?
Really, analyze. Do I like babies?
Yeah, like infants. Would you carry one?
I don't mind them. I don't like have one. I'm not like seeking out babies.
I mean, that's more or less the extent of his character in Death Stranding. For like, he's just like, I guess I'll deal with this. So
Yeah, no, that's true. Reluctant.
deal with this.
If a baby was thrust upon me, I would care for it as Norman Reedus cared for his.
put it in a jar and then walk around with it.
If it's safer in the jar, then yeah.
I mean, in the
I'll put
world
it
of
in the
Death
jar.
Stranding, yeah, babies are safer in the jars for sure.
That's true. I would like to be in a jar if
That
I
does
was in
seem
that
nice.
world. Let me get in there. Yes, we're back to our regularly scheduled show, but I guess it's not really a regular show because it's a milestone for a bunch of reasons. As we mentioned, our newly launched print subscriptions, but also it's Game Informer show 700. 700 episodes of this podcast, which is longer than, the average, I saw this stat somewhere, but did you know, 9 out of 10 podcasts end after, episode 3 or something like that?
I believe it.
Okay.
Yeah, and, we're better than 9 out of 10 podcasts, apparently, because we've lasted for, God, how long has it been? I remember listening to the very first episode of the GI show when it launched way back in the day, in 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been listening a lot.
Maybe? Or
9 sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was before my time. I started in 11, so it had been going by the time I started.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the same for me too. It was 2020, so it had very much been going. And yeah, it's had a variety of hosts. From starting with Matt Helgelson to Ben Hansen to Tim Turry to Ben Reeves to Alex Stadnick and now Alex Van Aken and I guess
Andy McNamara too for a little while there.
Oh yeah, that's right, Andy. That's right,
yeah.
Andy. Who could forget
former
the
editor in
Andy years?
chief? Yeah,
that's right. That's when the episodes were really long.
Yeah.
I remember. That's when they were like giant bomb.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Which I always thought that was very amusing to me at the time. So yeah, first and foremost, shout out to everyone that's ever hosted this show because they all led the charge. I like to think of it as like seasons of Power Rangers, where you look when you're in the current season, they always look back at the last season, at least when I used to watch, and they'd be like, hey, remember those other guys? And then they always do the episode where the last season's Power Rangers came in, and it was just like this respect of like, hey, thanks for paving the way. And then the old Rangers are like, thanks for carrying the torch, Space Rangers. We're the Rangers that drove the cars. We're the Turbo Rangers. It's like that. I don't know. That might be a fun exercise for the readers. Describe which season of Power Rangers matches the former GI show host the best.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, let us know. And, I call out the readers specifically because it's episode 700 and we couldn't have gotten here without you guys. That is an undisputed truth. I figured we forego our usual discussions about the latest games and news and all that stuff. We'll get back to that next week. It's also like a lighter release week this week anyway. And we're going to focus purely on you guys. This is going to be just listener questions. We got, over the last few days, a bunch of questions from the Game Informer Discord, which, by the way, you can join by subscribing to our Twitch channel just one time. We've got a Game Informer show channel where I usually go in each week and get some questions from the community. So we have a bunch of those we're going to answer, as well as some questions via email. And if you want to send us email questions, you can do so at podcasts@gameinformer.com. It's a great way to reach out to us, help us influence the show. And yeah, I guess before we jump into these questions, do you guys have anything you want to add about just the GI show, your experience on the GI show, your thoughts on podcasting?
Oh, man.
Do you think you have a good radio voice?
No.
Because this is the time to say no after,
I don't think I
while
do.
you're doing it.
I wasn't thinking about being reflective. It's funny because today's a very future-facing day for us internally because the subscriptions launched today. So it's like, we're thinking about the future. But yeah, I mean, I love podcasting. I mean, I still do it over at MinMax as well and Game Informer show, and that was a big thing for me when I first started. I was like, I want to be on the podcast. Screw all this writing. I want to talk to people. Gosh, yeah.
You do write all your articles speech to text.
That's right. Yeah, that's it. Which is just hell for you guys editing. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I don't reflective thoughts. I mean, I love doing the podcast. It's one of my favorite things to do here at Game Informer.
I had a similar. I actually remember. I don't know. I guess I just had a lot going on. I don't remember why, but my first few weeks, I remember mentioning. I think Brian was checking in with stuff I want to do because I joined Kyle's technically my boss, but I started the week before Kyle did, I think.
Right, when I restarted, right? Yeah.
So you have seniority over Kyle is what you're saying.
I mean, technically, yeah.
In this most recent bout.
Yeah.
So there was a weird thing where I was getting handed around because no one really knew exactly what to do with me yet. I remember telling Brian I really want to be on a podcast, and I don't know why, but he said something like, "Yeah, a lot of us really want to be on the podcast," or something like that. And then
Okay.
later it was like, "Oh no, there's a lot of room." I just think at the time, like, there was a lot of everyone else was guesting a lot. I don't know. I guess he was like, "You're all full up."
Yeah, Brian has his
was
own
like-
podcast.
Yeah,
He does. I think
he's
he
taking it
said-
and running away. In fact,
I think what he said was more along the lines of, I also wish I could do more podcasting, and that's why I
Right.
started All Things Nintendo.
it was less like a we're good as much as
Yes,
like a
yes.
podcasting is great. We all love doing
Yes,
it. Okay,
yes,
yeah, that
yes.
makes sense. Yeah, and you didn't know
Um,
Brian yet. You don't know his.
No,
his
yeah,
tone.
it was also like
Yeah,
over
you said, "What a
Slack
bitter
DM, too.
Bitter Brian. We call him.
That's
No,
what
do
we
not
call
him that at all.
Yeah, no, it rocks, and I like. I don't know. I remember. I like listen to the show. Not every time I'm not on it, but often when I'm not on it, I have a specific memory of being like, I gotta listen to the GI show to hear Kyle and Brian talk about Zelda because I don't know anything about Zelda. I wasn't in on that episode. I gotta hear about it. It's just like a good format. I also think there's something to the nuances of like speaking opinions out loud versus having them written down. Like you can just pick up more on like the specifics of how a person feels about a thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I guess echoing that, like again mentioned, I've listened to the show throughout all of its iterations, and so like when I joined, I had the same thing, like, oh man, I get to be on the GI show. Like even when I was an intern, I think we were only on the show for like our exit thing, like that they used to do for the interns, like, hey, say bye to everyone. So I got to do it in front of the old desk, and Samus back there standing at everybody. So I'm glad I got to do at least one of the like old ones, I guess. But yeah, I was excited to be in the show. I love podcasting. I've been doing it for years prior to Game Informer. I used to run my own podcasts in different forms. So, and a lot of that, I started those kind of, or not even kind of, like totally to prep for like, if I get a job at GI, I'm going to show them I'm good at podcasting. I know how to do this. So
did it last longer than 3 episodes?
They did, actually, yes. Even those podcasts were better than 9 out of 10 podcasts.
Top 10%.
There we go. That's all I know. It's the only thing I see. So yeah, and shout out to Alex Van Aken, who was the one that invited me to be like, I guess, the permanent co-host for this show after Alex Stadnick left. Which it's very flattering, and there's a part of me that still goes like, really, me? But then there's the other part of me that's like, yo, you, yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm always grateful to get to host this show, especially given the lofty legacy that it has, and to have helped, even in a small part, entertain people and get it up to the big 700. And here's hoping we can get it to 800 and 900 and then to 1,000. It could be the Roman Reigns of podcasts. You guys won't get that, but the people that know acknowledge us. Acknowledge us because we have 700 episodes. Throw the ones up. Or throw, I guess, the 7 up.
I'm doing that thing where I nod, and I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying.
I
But in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about.
You have like a thing where you'll make a wrestling reference and you're kind of embarrassed about it, and I've kind of come with the mindset of like, if there's any avenue in which you're gonna make a hyper specific nerdy reference, the GI show is the place to do it.
That's
Like,
true,
there's got to
that's
be
true.
people to get the way you talk about wrestling is probably the way other people feel when I talk about Pokemon. They're like, I don't know who Corsola is, but this dude's really excited about him, and that's great.
Hey, I know Corsola.
You do.
You're in the right place.
I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
He's like the Roman Reigns of Pokemon. I don't know.
He kind of, it's what they call him, yeah. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this big old list of questions. Some of these new, some of them we've been sitting on for a bit from previous weeks, including this first one via email from Mike Lujan, hailing from New Mexico, shout out, saying, "Hey everyone, I love listening to you all in the podcast, and I'm really thankful for all your conversations about video games and beyond. My question is in regard to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and their choice to have New Game Plus available for those who buy the deluxe edition or through DLC. Initially, I was upset about the decision, but as I thought about it, I wondered if maybe this was an okay thing to do. I have no idea how much work goes into adding New Game Plus, but I do know that it probably isn't a simple thing since so many games launch without it and have to add it later, like Spider-Man 2. Let's see. So basically asking, is making people pay extra for New Game Plus something understandable, or should gamers push back against that idea? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think you're out of line to push back against it at all, right? Because it is a feature that's been free, quote unquote, right, since inception. It's usually included as part of the game. Like, so it's like anything we can do to not nickel and dime a game, I'm going to be in favor of. But sort of at the same time, I don't think it's as bad as other microtransactions, because it's like it is a thing that is explicitly for the biggest fans of the game, right? It is for the people who like love the game, are probably willing to invest in the game and want to play it again quickly. And it is more work than I'm sure than we realize it is. So I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst microtransaction, but at the same time, I completely understand the perspective of like, this thing has always been part of the package in its entirety. I don't like that it's being separated out. I absolutely get that point of view as well. So that's a very political answer for you. That doesn't fall either direction.
I don't know a ton about this game, but is this New Game Plus, like, is there some like known significant difference with it, or is it just like your pretty standard New Game Plus of like you go back in with, you know, old tools? And
Yeah, as far as I know, it's pretty standard. I don't think it's like a Starfield kind of like New Game Plus.
Yeah, I don't think I think you just get to start the game with equipment and a level, right?
Okay.
It's like the best way to beat the game on the hardest difficulty is to go through New Game Plus. But I don't. Yeah, you are asking if it's like if it changes story or anything like that.
I'm saying, like, is this, like, I have an understanding of New Game Plus, but I don't know if this specific instance of it, like, if there's some reason why this would be paid versus like Spider-Man 2 is for free. But
yeah,
if
I don't know.
not,
I took this as like them trying something and seeing if it sticks. Of like, what if we charged money for this thing that maybe we don't have ready at launch, but instead of just patching it in, what if we ask people to pay money for it and see if that could be an additional revenue stream, and let's just test the waters there. That's kind of again, I have no idea, but that's kind of what I think was going through their heads, and it backfired as far as I could tell from the reaction to it.
Yeah, no, I never wanted to be paid for, right? But like yeah, you know what? That's where I'm gonna land. Let's not charge for New Game Plus.
Yeah, I'd rather that not. I agree that it's not a thing that you could just flip a switch and be like, New Game Plus is here. I know we take it for granted because a lot of games do it, and you know it's been around since like what, the PS1 generation at least, from what I can remember.
No, Chrono Trigger is the first one I remember.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chrono Trigger has it. I was gonna say, like, it's been around for a long time. It's not like some new, or even like relatively new innovation. So again, the idea of like, wait, taking this thing that's been around since I was a kid, you're gonna be like, give us money for it, please, and it's not, especially if it's not any different. Because even Starfield, which, not to get into spoilers there, but like that's a New Game Plus that changes things at least, and you could almost, I still don't think you should charge for that, but you could make the argument of like, well, it's kind of like DLC because it's gonna introduce some new story stuff a little bit, you know. It's not, it's different. So, and that's how Bethesda executives talk.
I'm Todd Howard.
Hey, Fushro Da, Dragonborn.
By the way, vote in our bracket, right? The final bracket is up there. Speaking of Fusro Da, Skyrim versus Ocarina of Time. What a matchup.
Yeah.
That I predicted. Don't listen
so
to last episode, but I called it.
What'd you call?
I said Breath of the Wild was going to take it all the way.
Oh, right. I was going to say, like, I called Ocarina to win the whole thing,
not.
and that's the prophecy is coming true, it seems like. So, but yeah, I am on the side of, let's not do that again. Let's not make that a regular thing, please. Like, it's still less egregious than other forms of microtransactions for sure. And honestly, as someone that barely ever replays games personally, even if they did, it would probably not affect me because I almost never take advantage of it. But still, it's just like, that seems like it could get pretty gross pretty quick. So let's just nip that in the bud now.
Yeah.
The thing for me is oftentimes, in recent years at least, you'll get a New Game Plus update like 3 to 6 months after the game comes out, and it also adds other stuff. And that, to me, I always saw that as like the developers being like, hey, we passed our first big like push for the game. Here's another like reason for us to be in the news or whatever. Like here's a reason if you didn't check out the game yet, maybe it's like discounted now. And now I don't know. I remember like Jedi Fallen Order. They're like, here's New Game Plus. Also, you can have an orange lightsaber or something like that. Like they would add just like a little bit of new stuff. Versus like, I think it's weird that like it just came out and they're charging for New Game Plus because no one's beat it yet.
It's like I don't even know if I want to replay this.
Yeah. And it's what, 1 million hours?
Yeah, roughly. That's what
Only
this says on how long to beat.
800,000, Charles. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you load up how long to beat, it crashes because it's so many hours. Yeah, they're like, stop looking up this game, please.
I think I did beat it. I think it was 80, and I love that game. That's probably my game of the year so far. But I was like, I'm good. Like I don't need to start over on this thing. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Alrighty, Judonkadonk via Discord asks, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth specifically being a high-profile timed exclusive, I dread spoilers and headlines and thumbnails over the next year. How do you approach discussion, news, and articles about games that are not multi-platform at launch? I would say the same. Like I generally, and I think we all are in the same boat of like we try not to spoil things anyway, regardless if it's like exclusive or not, just as our own policy. Like even with like cheeky headlines that are like, hey, we're not spoiling the game, but we actually are because you're smart, you can connect the dots. Like we try to avoid doing that kind of stuff. So I don't at least me personally, I don't really treat it any differently if it's an exclusive versus a multi-platform game.
I mean, I try, and I've certainly failed before, especially in casual conversations on podcasts, but, like, I really do go out of my way to not spoil things, like, in headlines and pictures and stuff. Like, my headlines will kind of be bad for SEO often, because I'll be like I wrote a couple articles about secrets in Super Mario RPG last year, and I was very much like, I think my headlines were kind of like only click this if you want spoilers from Mario RPG. Like I'm not even going to hint at what's in here, but just know that like, you know, like you have to opt into it. And I'll use Twitter's like ability to like blur out photos and stuff like that. So you have to click it to see even like a screenshot. Like I really get frustrated with, you know, like I mean, not to call anyone out, but there are other outlets that will just blatantly spoil major things in games because it does get a lot of clicks and it does get a lot of retweets and stuff like that, and it always drives.
I mean, it gets some angry retweets, but
I mean, but I mean, from the social media team's perspective, often that's kind of what they need. They just want
a retweet's
the numbers,
a retweet.
You know,
yeah. It's also like there's a SEO thing of like as soon as the game comes out and you're not bound to embargoes or anything, then like you can post whatever stuff, and oftentimes like if you post it first or earlier, then you're gonna, you know, do better in the search results. Yeah. So for a lot of like people get mad at outlets for doing this, I would blame Google.
Yeah. Yes, like, that's actually fair. Yeah.
The idea that it's like I don't want to have to spoil the end of the game to someone, and like you can try to dance around it, but it's also a thing of like if you do it, your site will make money, and if you don't do it, then maybe people will like you a little bit more. But like that's not what the, you know, big owners of the media companies and stuff want. Right. But I think it's I when it comes to like multi-platform specifically, I don't know if you guys feel this way. I don't really even process it like I don't know. I often am not even realizing that like, oh, not everyone's playing this game because I have a PC and a Xbox and a PlayStation, and no, that's not the reality for everyone. But like, I often forget like that's not a consideration I take a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's I just thought about it now, and Final Fantasy VII is maybe a good example for this, where I feel like, you know, like when there's a statute of limitations for spoilers, where if the game's been out for a long time, you can be a little bit more loosey-goosey with maybe mentioning more specific story stuff when you write about it, especially if it's like a retrospective or something like that. But I feel like the moment the game gets brought to another platform, then that expires and it gets reset
or it restarts in New Game Plus.
Yeah, it gets reset. Yeah. So it's like, oh, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's been out for 2 years and it's coming to Xbox. And you're like, okay, we can't. If we were free about talking about how that game ends or whatever, we can't do it anymore because now a new audience of players is gonna jump in. So like, if we were doing that, then we just go back to like if it was brand new again. And I think we've been treating Final Fantasy VII, like the remake series in general, like that, of not talking about spoilers from the original game. Whereas like at least I know I have, where like, oh, the moment that game got announced, like the original remake, I was like, okay, I can't talk about things that before we were just freely being like, yeah, remember when this happened in the original, because it had been so long at that point, you know.
I will say I commend the internet for actually, I feel like they've been pretty good about remake and rebirth. Like
I've not seen anything.
I've finished the game,
either.
so I'm like a little more happy to kind of like float, go into the weeds of that game, and I really haven't seen a lot of people like blatantly sharing big moments, even like a month later now at this point. So good job, internet. You guys are doing all
great
right.
job, guys. You did it.
Keep it up, please, for the love of God, keep it up forever.
Let's see. Mash start button via Discord asks, if you had to pick one vehicle from media, which can include a real car that happens to be represented in media, or a totally fictional car/vehicle, to survive the apocalypse like in Pacific Drive, what would it be and why? I mean, probably the Batmobile, right?
Yeah.
Like that seems like
Yeah.
that would be most equipped to survive Pacific Drive's kind of like hellscape.
Like Arkham Knights specifically, like Borderline
that's a
Tumbler.
good-
Like it's basically the
Oh, do we need to
Tumbler.
pick a
tank.
version of it? Like a version
I
of the
think so,
Batmobile?
right? Yeah.
If it's a video game, I feel like you got to pick the game.
Yeah,
it's
probably
from.
want like a Tumblr's like a Tumblr/Arkham Knight. Maybe just the Tumbler from the Christopher Nolan film. It's probably best like all-terrain version of it.
Yeah.
Because then you have to worry about like, oh, I can drive on the street with this, but if for whatever reason I need to go out into like the woods, I can just like, the thing's like a tank, probably run over trees and stuff. So it's weird. That's probably my like least favorite version of the Batmobile is Tumblr. But like for this situation, it's probably the best one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the least aesthetically pleasing, but the most which is very Nolan, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like functional, like
Functional.
practical.
Yes, practical. It's
Yeah, like you can
probably the
drive
most
that
practical.
You could drive the Tumbler into a battlefield
Yeah, you'd be all right.
and be fine, probably. So.
This there was a car in Crackdown 1. It's weird to specifically call out that one, but if you leveled up, because you had like a flat car that if you drove on the street, you could like drive under cars and cars would like fly. But there was the other one that was more like an SUV. Like if you really leveled that thing up over the course of the game, like it was basically you started playing a platformer in a car. Like that thing could just jump, which I always liked that. So maybe that car, the Crackdown 1 SUV, leveled up all the way, mind you.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, you have to level it up though.
Yeah, I mean I would get there. It doesn't take that long.
Okay.
Is it does this have to be like this is kind of cheating question.
They say car/vehicle just to be clear.
How far are we stretching? Like, can I get like a exoskeleton? Can I get like is a mech a vehicle?
I mean, technically, yeah.
I think so.
It is mobile.
I was gonna say I've been rewatching Neon Genesis Evangelion, just getting a big suit to hang out inside. But that's like a notable part of that they need like a power source.
Also, it kind
so
of
that would
seems
be it.
hellish to drive those things.
It's not pleasant.
That show
It would
does not
just-
do any favors to the pilots in terms of like, this is like a fun experience. Like, no, this is painful and brutal.
This is very true.
Plus, you have to, if you're trying to survive an apocalypse, you probably have to like sleep in that, and those are not like, you don't want to live in like a mech suit. It's pretty much just a cockpit, right? Nothing else. So,
I mean, the thing's got a mouth.
I mean, not for you.
No, but I mean, it could be.
God.
Can you like after you're done killing things and you're like, well, I gotta park here for the night. You can't really
just lay
stretch
'em
out
down.
and relax.
Yeah.
Or something.
Exactly.
It's funny. One of the things I love about Evangelion, Charles, are you like watching it for the first time like recently?
It's the second time.
Okay.
It was so deeply
the New Game
weird
Plus
that I
version
was
of it.
like- New Game. They actually did. They're like the movies of that.
They are kind of.
They kind of have a New Game.
Did you have to pay for them?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
technically,
yeah, I guess.
But the thing,
Yeah, no, you can spoil away.
I watched that show for the first time probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and like,
It was when it came to Netflix.
yes,
when I watched it.
I went all in and really enjoyed it. But there was, man, the idea this kind of like falls into what we're talking about, vehicles and stuff. I love the sort of plot detail that like they essentially need to be plugged into a wall. You know, like they
Yeah.
can't, they don't work really unless they're plugged in. That's such a weird idea to me, but also like, yeah, you know, that kind of makes sense. Like, I don't think you can just take a Gundam wing. Like, that thing's got to, you know, it's got to run out of power at some point. Like, what if you just plugged into the wall and you just, that was your tether?
It's also like very like 90s in the way of like just how like when you look at old like sci-fi from the 70s or whatever, they're like, and this is the ship's console. It's tiny compared to our huge computers, and it's still like the size of a room or whatever.
Yeah.
This one, they're like, we made ultra powerful like psychic robots, but they do need to be plugged into the wall the whole time.
They're not
like,
wireless.
Imagine if you could get
Yeah, which is why like we made super powerful things, but we couldn't figure out like an advanced power source either. Like,
Yeah.
you can't even
It's,
be like on a charger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that show's kind of wild, turns out.
also, to end this question, I think the real answer, if we're gonna cheat, is like, I don't know, the Normandy from Mass Effect, just
Oh,
like a
yeah,
spaceship,
sure,
and then
yeah.
you just fly away. You don't even have to be in the hellscape. You're like, I got a whole like big ship with rooms and I guess a crew presumably, and we just get out of there.
Was that Far Lone Sails? I don't. Did you guys play that one?
Oh yeah.
That'd be a good one too, because that's basically
What is
like,
this?
it's like you're taking like an RV through the apocalypse, basically, and it's like got rooms and a sleeping area and stuff. Yeah.
Seems like a pain to run by yourself, but I guess that's
Yeah,
like
well,
that's
that's
like the
the
whole
game.
point of the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're just be running up and down ladders and floors constantly.
What'd be fun is like the Jackdaw or like any like ship, like a pirate ship. The Jackdaw's the ship in.
So you're just out
Assassin's
sea.
Creed
You're
4.
not even. You're not even on land.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's smart.
Wait,
Yeah.
you would want like a pirate, not just a modern ship. Like you got to
No,
be
it
the one
could be-
that
it could
does
be a
like the
yacht.
raising of the sails and stuff. Like
I'll do whatever the yacht in Mario Kart is. It's like Daisy's yacht in Double Dash. Daisy Cruise.
You're gonna
It's a
take a
thing,
Mario Kart as your permanent apocalypse?
I'm trying
vehicle?
I'm trying to ground it in video games, you guys.
Yeah. No, that's
It's
good.
just it's a good spot.
yeah, is a Pokemon a vehicle? Can I just ride on Pidgeot and use the move Fly?
Get
I
a
mean,
Wailord.
Fast travel? Yeah.
Was it Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire that had the flyable?
Latios.
Yeah, there you go. That works.
Yeah, they go like super fast, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, probably rip your skin off if you hung onto one of those, but I don't know. Didn't Ash ride one in the movie? I guess he was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
well, he's not a good. That's not a good standard.
He's not a human.
Just Ash's capabilities and yeah.
I mean, he gets electrocuted and burned alive a lot, and he seems all right.
Yeah.
But, like, how many times did he get roasted by Charizard and was like totally fine? So yeah, it's
Uncountable.
Here's an interesting question from Jim Video via email. I'm going to paraphrase this one a bit, asking Game Informer crew, before GTA 4 was released, Rockstar produced Rockstar Games Presents Table Tennis. It was the first game to use Rockstar's advanced game engine, Rage, which was used to help develop other engines for their future games. Before GTA 5 was Midnight Club Los Angeles, and I feel like the driving mechanics from that was ported into GTA 5, which is one reason why he thinks the game was such a hit. With GTA 6 coming out for consoles in about 2 years, maybe 4 years on PC, what game should Rockstar produce to help develop parts of that game? So
Okay.
basically, it's weird. They don't really do those like in between small stuff anymore. If I could, the last game they did before GTA 6 is Red Dead 2. So I guess if they could take something from that game to put into GTA 6, it would be genuinely great writing. Is that a mechanic?
Is that a mechanic?
So like
Actually-
in between
Ooh.
those two games, can they make like a visual novel where it's just narrative, but it's
Yeah.
like really good writing?
Yeah, that'd be interesting, honestly. Like just a narrative-focused game that's like a reasonable length. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'd be their practice to be like, hey, you guys can do this again. You don't have to. It doesn't have to end in Red Dead 2.
Yeah, you kind of got to think about like what are the mechanics that GTA comes up short on that would be great for them to just focus on wholly, right? Like
Probably gunplay. It's always
Yeah.
been the weakest part of those games. Like it's gotten better, but I don't even think like GTA 5 is the best of it. But I would still put it below a lot of other games.
because like when after Max Payne 3 came out, I think my hope was not that Max Payne 3 has the best shooting or anything, but I was like, I wonder if this will kind of make its way into GTA, this style, because that was like a Rockstar developed game.
What if you add bullet time to GTA 6?
Ooh.
I mean,
why
I'd be
not?
okay with that? Yeah.
Is there a reason why you can't have it?
I was gonna say like, what if we just go straight from Red Dead 2, and there's just like stables at one point on the map in GTA 6, and you can just ride horses around.
I bet there will be
Yeah,
horses.
that'd be cool.
I bet there'll be
Yeah.
horses in GTA 6, right?
Are there
why-
horses in
wait,
other
why do you-
GTA games?
I don't think so.
Well,
It's just it feels kind of Florida. I don't know what about it. Not that I think there are horses in Florida.
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say,
something
you don't
about the
have
vibe. It feels correct.
I mean, there are certainly parts of Florida, like in the boonies, where people have horses that they just ride around.
Are
If
there,
it's
like,
near
tourist-
the Keys,
Are there
Were
like
you gonna ask?
tourist areas where like people get in like horse-drawn carriages or something?
Oh, like at Disney.
I
mean,
literally did do
yeah.
that at Disney last year. Like we got in a
Is
horse-drawn
there
carriage.
going to be a Disney World in this game? Have we
oh,
talked about
if
that?
they were
There's
doing
gotta
for
be.
even though it looks like it's set in like Miami, which is like
Yeah.
not Orlando, but like it feels like they would have a theme park of some
They have
sort
to,
in
right?
there,
Like, that
right?
would be-
That's
Just,
exciting.
Yeah.
I think
I want like a Rockstar Mickey Mouse parody. I don't know who it would be, but just that would be great.
Picky Mouse. I mean, I guess they can just put Steamboat Willie in the game.
I guess they could.
Can
they can literally just do that.
public
now.
domain.
For what
They
it's
can have
worth, though,
Steamboat Willie and Winnie the Pooh.
I do kind of hope that Rockstar gets away from like too much goofy parody stuff. Like I don't want it to be too tongue in cheek. You know, I would like it to be sort of a like
Oh,
a
you
just,
know, there's
like
going to
they-
be a Ron DeSantis parody, and he's going to have
Yeah.
a feud with their fake theme park.
I mean, that's okay. But like I just don't want them to have like this is our Disney. It's got a lot of sexual innuendo in the park. And it's
Look at Steamboat Willie.
I don't really want that. Like
This is satire.
Yeah.
It's Mickey Mouse, but he's not wearing
Yeah,
clothes.
see, that goes back to the good writing innovation.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
We could
But I
just
bet
get that in
yeah.
there.
Calling it now. I bet you can ride a horse in GTA 6, right? You probably can.
If it's set near the
Right.
Keys, which it looked like in the trailer, it looked like they had the 7 Mile Bridge, which is the bridge that you take to get from South Florida through the Keys. It's a very, very long bridge. You could have key deer. You guys familiar with key deer? They're like these small little deer that occupy the Keys. They're almost like dog size. They're very cute. They're way too used to humans because they'll just walk up to you sometimes.
All right. Yeah.
What if you could ride one of those, or you could just ride a deer? Because Florida, it doesn't have.
Because
Or actually,
Florida.
you ride an alligator.
That's it.
That's-
That's gotta
yes.
be it.
This
There's
is
got to
good
be an
stuff.
alligator wrangling
And you eat people.
mission.
You just bite people's ankles and just like, rah, you do like death rolls on them, stuff like that. You know.
By the way, I'm
There you
looking. I'm pulling up the GTA 6 trailer now, just because like I'm like, gosh, was there a horse in that trailer that we're just like not thinking of? And like I'm like talking a big game of like, yeah, you'll be able to ride a horse. And they're like, yeah, no crap, you'll be able to ride a horse. There's one right here in the trailer. I'm looking at it now. No horses yet.
Marcus and Wes, you guys did like a watch through. You did a reaction to that, right? Yeah.
I don't think
good
we
video.
acknowledged the horse, but we did react to the trailer. Yes.
I was gonna say if there was a one, I feel like you would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
if it's
guess-
not clear, if you're not aware, Marcus and Wes live in Florida, so the video is
Yes.
two Florida men react to GTA 6 trailer, which is I remember seeing that headline and I was like, that's perfect. I want to watch that.
So yeah, I guess that's all I have for that question. That's an interesting question though. Just
Yeah.
like the idea of making an in-between project just to get to get a good idea for a mechanic that you want to put into like the real next project, I guess. Again, Rockstar has really gotten away from that, where we're lucky to get a game from them once a decade at this point. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, I know you guys. There's like I saw like a report of some sort. I think it was from GameStop. I forgot to. I only saw the headline, didn't read it. That allegedly GTA 6. There's something coming out that it might slip into 2026 for some reason instead of 2025.
I did see that report. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's because they got to work on their table tennis game. They're like, we really got to get this right in GTA 6. Let's just make another one of these. Legend of Gamer 102 via Discord has a few questions. We can treat some of these as rapid fire, actually, if you want.
Sure.
A rapid fire for ourselves. Number 1, why aren't Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD on Switch?
Nintendo hates you.
Yeah, that's probably the answer.
They have too much
actually.
money.
You specifically.
Yes, it's out. I have it. They just didn't give it to you. yeah, everybody else has it.
I do really want that. I would if they announce that, because like a lot of times they'll be like everyone will make demands for games they want on modern platforms, but then when they come out, everyone's kind of like, oh, I didn't actually want to sit down and play it right now. I needed some like peace of mind to know that I could. right? Like I just want to know that it's available
Like
to
a
play
nice
if I want
version
to.
of it.
Yeah.
They saw the sales for Wii U and were like, well, it didn't sell well. You guys don't want this. And it's like, no, the console is the problem. It's not the game. Put it on a platform that everybody actually owns, and you'll see the money.
But if they announced that, because I played Twilight Princess in full again when it came to Wii U and had a great time, but I only played about half of Wind Waker when it came to Wii U, where to the point where it's like if they did announce Wind Waker and Twilight Princess coming to Switch, I would actually, this is me pitching to Nintendo, I hope they're listening, I will play Wind Waker through. I will actually play it because it's one that I've only played like once. It's like one of my least played 3D Zeldas.
Interesting.
So I do want to play it again on Switch tomorrow, please.
I wonder if at this point you just save it for Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it sounds like, if I had to guess, that's like, that'll be out by sometime next year, right? So if it's
the going theory.
I don't know.
Yeah, launch titles.
I think the actual theory, I think I've heard Brian say this before, is that like he thinks maybe something about them being on Wii U and them adding like gamepad integration might be hard. It might not be as simple to port over to Switch as we think it is, because both of those games were specifically Wii U. But lots of Wii U games have come to Switch, so who knows?
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah. Next question from Legend Gamer: where's Mario Paint 2?
It's called Mario Maker. They changed the name.
Change the name.
Yeah, I think there's even a fly swatting game in Mario Maker 1, isn't there?
I didn't play a lot of Mario Maker 1, so
I could be wrong about that. But yeah, there's a lot of Mario Paint energy in Mario Maker, truly, like genuinely. Yeah, I still want Mario Paint 2. Let's do it.
cool.
Release a mouse peripheral for the Switch? Hell yeah.
No, you're gonna use a Joy-Con. Let's be real.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Just slide the Joy-Con around on your table.
Next question: who introduced you to video games? I guess for me, my mom, because she got me. She got us an NES when I was a wee lad, probably like 3 years old, and also I would imagine as far back as I can remember, she was the first person to take me to like an arcade. So I guess it was my mom.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. My grandparent, Grandpa Ted, shout out Grandpa Ted. He had a PC, and he showed me Myst, and then later my dad brought home Myst, and I was like, oh, I played this at my grandpa's house. This is a cool game. But before that, I just feel like they were there. Like they were just always there. I don't have a specific memory of being introduced to them.
Do you remember how old you are when you saw Myst for the first time? Do you have to guess?
I'd want to go do the math, but I was probably, because it was probably shortly after it released. I don't know. Was I like 8, maybe?
Mid-90s then?
I'm gonna say 8, and then
because Riven was 97.
Yeah. So I definitely played Myst before Riven came out for sure.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is I feel like introducing a child of that age to video games via Myst has a real chance of turning them off video games forever, because it is not the most exciting looking game.
Yeah.
Just a lot of walking around slowly.
At the time, though, it was, right? Because, like, the comparison point was NES, was maybe Super Nintendo. And that felt, I mean, it's laughable now, but at the time it felt like a full 3D space that you could explore.
Sure.
So I was entranced by it. I was like, what is this place? Like, so and I did the math, and assuming I did play it shortly after it came out, which I think I was. It came out in 93. I was probably 8 or 9. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just think of the same nature was like, I would be like, is this like a fancy screensaver? Or oh, this is a game. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like, again, technically it was like pretty mind blowing at the time, just like fidelity and stuff. But yeah. What are you, Charles?
The first game I got, it was like my dad's college friend, where he's like not someone I ever met, but my parents always referred to him as like Uncle whatever. And I had a few like
That's disrespectful. They just call him Uncle whatever. Didn't even bother to learn his name.
It was just like there was like 3 or 4 people they're really close to in college, and then I think I elevated them to uncle status with the assumption that they would be around and I would refer to them often enough that they would be like uncles, and I don't remember most of their names.
Right.
It was either Aaron or Critter, which are very college names.
Critter?
Critter, yeah, Uncle Critter.
All right.
Anyways, I think it was Aaron.
What kind of games is Uncle Critter bringing into the house?
Bugs.
He seems like that would be the one that would introduce you to Pokemon, actually.
It does.
Uncle Critter.
That was who got me Lego Star Wars. But I first saw Lego Star Wars when I was like visiting family in New York, and like my like great aunts, like some like cousins, another thing of like family. I don't remember who it was. I remember being in like the hallway and looking into the like living room and seeing these kids sitting on the floor with I think like an Xbox playing Lego Star Wars and being like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I just got to get an Xbox. And then coming home a few weeks later, then being like, hey, we got Lego Star Wars. You can play it on the computer. And I was like, you don't even need an Xbox? Technology's amazing.
The Mist Machine plays Lego Star Wars?
Yeah, this famously less powerful machine can run this?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Real quick, Charles, what do Kyle and I have to do to be upgraded to uncle status in your mind? Like, how can
to
we
be my uncles?
Sure, whatever you consider an uncle, because you said you just name people uncles. So what do we have to do to be an uncle?
Well, no, it wasn't. To be clear, I didn't ever call them uncle in the sense that like I consider them uncles. My parents referred to them as Uncle Blank.
Ah, okay.
So it was like they were introduced to me as uncle. So in my head, that's what they are. But I'm like, I couldn't even picture this guy's face off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are already past uncle status.
Oh, all right.
In that sense, because I know exactly what you look like.
Okay, we're like, what's above an uncle? Father, I guess.
I'm not ready for that, so I can't accept that responsibility.
Like gamer dad. Yeah, Kyle could never be a dad. Yeah, no, I don't know.
A gamer dad. That's funny.
Jeez. And Legend of Gamers, last question. I just want a simple yes or no answer for you guys on this. You don't even have to elaborate. I know you're going to want to. I'm just going to need you to commit to a yes or no.
Okay.
Will Cody Rhodes finish his story at WrestleMania 40?
Yes.
Hell yeah, he will.
Yeah, I agree. Look at this. 3-way agreement. Thank you guys so much.
We did it, Charles.
You heard it here first, guys. Cody Rhodes will finish the story at WrestleMania 40. You heard Game Informer endorsed.
In this episode, this issue of Game Informer magazine, Marcus does say wants Cody Rhodes to finish the story as his like little masthead thing.
I forgot that I wrote that.
So you said that, and I was like, oh, I actually remember. I have the context for this. Marcus thinks yes.
He's the Zelda fan, right? Cody
Yes.
Rhodes? Okay, yeah, we'd get along.
Okay.
Yeah, close friends. Yes.
Close friends.
He's chill.
JHerb24 via Discord asks, what's your dream GDC panel that you'd like to attend? It could be because of a specific person in it, a specific topic, you name it. That's a good question.
Nintendo keeps doing them, frankly. Like, those are the dream ones for me, is Nintendo pulling back the curtain and talking about development of their games. And they did one for Wonder this year. And they did a big one for Breath of the Wild in the past. Like, more of that. Like, that's honestly the dream panel for me. Is like just like weird. How does Nintendo get to where it is? Because they have such a strange approach to how they think about what players do with games, that they get to it in roundabout ways that I never would have thought. And it's also like less technical, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like they're doing a GDC panel on like the technology that they used. It seems like they start with fun and then go from there in a weird way. So like they're kind of already happening for me. Is the ones Nintendo is doing.
Okay. I would love, not to be like, I guess, negative, but I would love a panel for like a team that made like a really bad game. And they just talked about why the game was bad. Like, if you got the people behind like the Zelda CEI games in like a room together and they just talked about like what's going on with that, like why they made the decisions they made and whether or not they knew at the time that it was like not a good idea, or like you get the plumbers don't wear ties people and get like the full cast, and they just talk about how that game got made and their experiences with that.
Yeah.
Just get some like really like just some like famously trash games and get everyone that was involved to talk about it. Or even this is a shout out to the old podcast I used to do, Video Gameography, where I want to say Devil May Cry 2. When we did an episode, John Carson and I, about Devil May Cry 2 and talked about the making of that game. But one of the most interesting aspects was like that game had 2 like leads on it, and the first lead we still don't know who it was. Like, Capcom has never divulged, as far as we could find from our research, who was in charge of Devil May Cry 2 initially, because the person that did take it on basically inherited a mess and did what he could to like fix it before deadline. But Devil May Cry 2, a famously bad game, and the worst of the series. But a lot of that blame it should not be thrust on like the person whose name is on the like the credits, because just based on what we found. But like we were looking around, like who was this first person that I guess did like 70 to 80% of this before it was like taken away from him, and like are they still like were they like executed? What happened to
the story of that game, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is like we know for sure, without a doubt, that it did not begin as a Devil May Cry game, but it got sort of like square peg in a round hole, became a Devil May Cry game. Correct?
Devil May Cry 2 specifically?
Yeah, 2, 1 and 2, right?
Weren't they both that way? Famously, 1 was a Resident Evil game that got. It was so different that they turned it into its own thing that became Devil May Cry 2.
Okay.
2, from what I remember, was always going to be a sequel. It's just that I guess whoever was in charge of it had some ideas that just didn't pan out, and was maybe overcorrecting on some of the first game's criticism in terms of like, because the first game is pretty hard. And I think they took the comments of like, man, this game's hard. They were like, okay, what if we just did a bunch of stuff and made it too easy? And
what if you could just shoot every enemy until they died? Like,
what if you had a helicopter boss? Remember all the cool bosses we had in the first game? What if one of them was just a helicopter that hovered off screen and all you did was point up and shoot and then assume that you were doing damage? What if that was a boss fight?
It's called fun, Marcus.
Yeah, what if you fought a building? Like, they watched that scene from Big where the guy's like, hey, the transforming building, that's fun. And they were like, hell yeah, they didn't watch past that part. Oh, Devil May Cry 2, such a bad game. But yeah, give me the GDC panel on Devil May Cry 2 and why it's a bad game.
By the way, Marcus, I would like to direct you to an article published in 2016 on GameInformer.com written by look like Kyle Hilliard. It's called "Meet the Man Who Put Mario and Zelda on the Philips CDI."
Oh, okay.
And it's a huge deep dive that I did with the interview. I tracked down the producer of those games and talked to him for a long time.
Oh man, I wonder if I read that back in the day and forgot. I have to look that up. So the GDC panel is you.
It's me.
You've done it. Yeah. Okay.
No, I am 100% with you. That's a really awesome idea, and because obviously I'm fascinated by those CDI games. I would love to hear those guys, and I would love to hear more people talk about the development of those
I'm tired of people talking about why they were so good at making the game that was good. So tell me why you blew it.
Here's why this didn't come
from
together. Right.
Yeah. Charles, what's your answer for this?
I was bouncing around a lot from what I wanted. I was briefly like, I kind of want to hear Tommy Tallarico now.
He's probably you can probably call him. He's probably he'll chat with you.
Well, we can phone him into the show.
Yeah. You guys know about the whole H-Bomber guys YouTuber made a video about like Tommy Tallarico's weird trend of like not actually writing music.
No, I don't think I mean I know Tallarico, I know about Amico and stuff like that, right? Is that what it is?
Most famously known for the Amico.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good video. And it's basically he's talking about the Roblox oof sound. And Tommy Tallarico's like, actually I'm the one that made that, because he had like a sound pack, sold it to Roblox, or it was just like available and Roblox bought it. It was one of the sounds that was in Roblox. So Tommy Tallarico's studio made it. And then this guy basically just goes through a bunch of Tommy Tallarico's like history and past and stuff. And it's like, oh, he said he wrote the music for this game, but actually his company was in charge of it. And this guy underneath him wrote the song.
Like a ghostwriter?
And basically, but it just gets to the point where like you can see credited it's another person, and then Tommy will go and like take credit for it himself, and then it like balloons into like really absurd stuff of like he says multiple times he's the first American that worked on the Sonic the Hedgehog series, which is not true. He helped write some of the music on Sonic and the Black Knight, which I think was also recently disproved, but even then
He shouldn't have claimed that one.
If we're being really generous, and he was the first American to help with music on the Sonic games, there was like a whole famous thing of like people said Michael Jackson worked on like what Sonic 3.
Yeah.
Right. Which was kind of confirmed by Yuji Naka in that tweet from like a year or two ago.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and whether or not that did happen, Tommy Tallarico has also gone on the record and said Michael Jackson definitely worked on that game. So then he's even proved that he's not the first
himself.
American.
Right, yeah.
And then he also has like a bunch of Guinness World Records for being the person that's been in the most video games. That's also not true. Anyways, that's not important. It's really, this is a really good video. H-Bomber guy. I
have to look that up.
I think it's called Roblox_oof. It's very. This came out like 2 years ago. It was like a big thing. I'm not the only person that's ever watched this video. Anyways, he has since then been like, I don't know, kind of laughed out of relevancy. And I would like to see him go back and be like, okay, so I said I wrote this, but actually here's what happened. Or, okay, so we said that this was, but here's like what actually happened.
You want to hear his reaction,
that was my first,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like his GDC panel is him like setting the record straight?
Yes, like actually coming clean about like what did happen, because
that's the name of his panel. Coming clean about
coming clean. But then my actual like better version is I want a panel of a bunch of people that like played in the orchestras for like game soundtracks, because I think that'd be cool. Like hearing the like jazz soloists that were in like Mario Kart 8, or hearing whoever plays the like sick flute solo in the theme for Tears of the Kingdom. Like I just want to hear them talk about their like recording process.
Yeah.
Sure.
Charles, have you seen the movie crap, I don't have the name ready. Cate Blanchett won a Tar.
Tar?
Yeah, have you seen that movie?
I have not.
Okay. You should watch that movie.
I don't know what
Considering your interest in video game orchestration and orchestra music in general, to be clear, I haven't watched Tar. I hear it's very good, and I would like to. But I read what the ending was, and I was like, really? That's the ending, and it will be relevant if you ever look it up or decide to watch that movie.
Tommy Tallarico walks into the scene like Nick Fury at the end of a Marvel movie.
That's spelled Tommy Tallarico without tar.
Tommy Tallarico?
Tallarico.
Eventually.
Chock full of via Discord has a couple questions. First, your favorite games. All right, this is a hypothetical that they're painting for us. Okay. Your favorite game series just announced their next and final game. Do you want this game to be a greatest hits style game, or something completely new where they swing for the fence and it could potentially flop? So I think the idea is like, let's say, Kyle, for you, Zelda. They say we're making the last Zelda game. Would you want them to do sort of like, here's a traditional Zelda game, like this is what you know and love? Or do you want them to go like, we're going to do something radically different, like Breath of the Wild style, but like, you know, that kind of a leap for our last game?
A leap, for sure. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Because like, I love, like, let's say, like, in this example, right, traditional Zelda. I love more traditional Zelda. I love Ocarina, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and stuff like that. But, like, I would rather them try something new and fail, and I just still get to have those games that I love, rather than them do sort of lean too much into that and be like, yeah, this is good. I know what this is. This is meeting my expectations. I'd rather be surprised, because like it's those classic games are never gonna like disappear for me. Like I'll always have them to go back to and play. So I'd rather see swings. Yeah.
Sure. Charles?
I think it depends on the series a lot.
Yeah. What's your favorite series for this question?
Probably, I'd say for this question, I'll probably go Pokemon, and I'd say make it like bring it home, make it something classic, make it like I just want them to make it clean. I guess that's my thing.
Yeah,
with
you want the
Pokemon,
warm
is, like,
blanket, but like a good version of it.
Yeah. My first thought was like, they're making a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising? That's great. Another game of my favorite series. Wait, no.
Wait, is it? Are you a fan of Kid Icarus as a series, or is it just Uprising?
Just
I
Uprising.
was like, have you played OG Kid Icarus in
Maybe
a while?
maybe for 2 minutes.
Okay.
I've never played Kid Icarus more than a couple minutes. I would love that to come to Switch with like I don't know if it could really. They'd have to change the controls. But I remember I have a memory of it being reviewed in the office, and they were doing multiplayer, and I went over Ben Hanson's shoulder just to watch. Oh, what's this game like? Let me see. And he he looked at me and like gave me a fake like, what are you doing here? And what he did is and in response to that, he turned up the 3D slider so I couldn't see from my perspective what he was doing.
Wow.
Right? Like just as like a joke of like,
really good.
you can't watch what I'm doing. Flip. And that always made me laugh so hard.
What a jerk. That's like extra disrespectful. Disrespecting with tech.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's what the 3D slider was for, you guys. I don't know what you were using it for.
Yeah, if someone starts peeking over you, you just zoop, turn that thing up. Yeah, I don't even know if I thought about this. I don't know if I can confidently say that I have a favorite series. I have favorite series, but I don't know if I've ever. I'm like this with a lot of things where like I don't know, maybe I'm just non-committal about stuff, but I generally don't have like definitive number ones of a lot of stuff. You know, like, oh, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? I'm like, I don't know. I like a bunch of things. It's mood based, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just pluck one from the pile. Let's just say Mario. Like Mario would be in the running. And I guess like I think I would specifically for Mario, I'd rather them swing for the fence too. Because I think Mario's best stuff is when they swing for the fence, like the Galaxy games. So I guess my warm blanket for this would be something like Wonder, of like a new 2D game with some new stuff. But yeah, I would like to see, like, okay, you guys did Wonder, you did Odyssey, you did Sunshine, like those were all big swings. I want to see like something like that, like some whatever wacky new idea you have. If this is the end of Mario, which sounds absurd, but if you're tired of making money, then yeah, go out with a bang.
I feel like Mario and Zelda are such like weird instances for this question specifically though, because like my Pokemon desire, I'm like, I want them to just do. I feel like every game there's like a criticism I have where I'm like, I wish they would just do it right once. Like I wish they would do it all the way correct one time and then I'd be good. Whereas like with Mario and Zelda, I'm like Mario 64, Super Mario World, Link to the Past, and Ocarina of Time all exist. There's like perfect forms of each of their things. So it's very easy to be like, of course we'll swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Because if I ever want to play like the perfect version of this, they did it first and then they kept going.
Yeah, where like Pokemon in your example has never quite apexed, right, is what you're saying, kind
Yeah.
of?
Or you could argue that they apexed in the beginning of like Red, Blue, and Yellow are great games, and I feel like every game since then has just been chasing that. Like, you know, even if there are like quality of life improvements, it's like we're still trying to chase that. Like, man, remember how like fresh this felt when this first came out and stuff like that?
There's just always stuff where I play the next Pokemon game and then I go back, I'm like, I miss the physical special split that came in Diamond and Pearl, or like, oh, I wish TMs had infinite use in this game. Like I feel like there's always like 2 or 3 things that are like holding it back. Anyways, this doesn't need to be Pokemon rant. You just chose 2 like near perfect series for your examples. I want to explain myself.
Pokemon
Also,
Rant would be a good recurring podcast name. You know,
Poke Rant.
Pokemon Rant. And you could do 3 episodes.
It'd be
and then
so
call it a day.
unintelligible.
It does sound like Pokemon Ranch, which that's a thing, right?
that's-
Pokemon
Love
Ranch.
that game.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Pokemon Rant.
It's on the Wii.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Pokemon
I know I've seen
Ranch.
that name before. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, okay, I didn't know what it was. I was like, I know
It's
that's
weird.
a thing.
My Pokemon Ranch.
Oh yeah, my Pokemon Rant. That's
Oh,
your
weird. And then you're
That's
like,
your-
Pokemon
you
Rant.
can pull
yeah.
your
That's your
Mii-
like
it's
what
has
grinds
your
my
Miis
gears
into
segment.
Kyle, it's deeply
Are
deeply
Mii's
weird.
are Mii's Pokemon?
Are Mii's Pokemon?
I mean, I guess they kind of look like a Mr. Mime in terms of like simplicity. So if Mr. Mime could be a Pokemon, then a Mii can be too.
And it's like the Pokemon. I'm like, sorry, I'm like down a rabbit hole now. This is like the Pokemon designs in this game. They're kind of like sort of they look like Mii's as well. This is weird.
So worse, I guess.
All right, there's our next replay, super replay series. Marcus.
Kyle, it's like a.
Guess I gotta fire up my Wii.
Pokemon box, then like a. There's nothing to replay.
Oh,
but there's everything to replay.
oh
Okay. Chalkbullev's next question. This can also be a quick one. Name one video game character better than the King of all Cosmos. From Katamari Damacy, for those that don't know.
Okay.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
Better than the
Ichiban.
Oh yeah.
Ichiban and the King of all Cosmos. That I'd play that game.
I'd like to see them hang out.
But that's a good one, man. The King of all Cosmos is wild. That is.
Can you give me some details about the King of all Cosmos? Because I don't have. Or should I just say name a really good?
Have you seen him? Do you know what he looks like?
He's just really big, right?
Yeah, he's like the size of a planet.
Hell of a chin.
And he like his whole deal is like he got really drunk and broke all the stars in the universe, and then he like sends his son out to fix things for him, and he just gives you like weird speeches all the time. He's bizarre. Yeah.
He's probably one of the funniest video game characters ever.
Yeah. Have you never played a Katamari, Charles?
That's a goes in the old motion stick.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Something about that because the camera like moves the whole.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I haven't tried it. I haven't given it a really hard.
I wonder if because I haven't played the modern Katamaris. I wonder if they fixed that. But yeah, for the first couple, for sure. Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
I only ever tried it on Switch.
That's probably. I mean, that's the remake of the original. Probably that would be the one to play. Oh, that's a bummer. That's such a wonderful.
I'll
game.
abstain from the question because I don't think I could properly assess his greatness.
That's very. I respect that. I was gonna say like GLaDOS from Portal.
Oh yeah,
that's a good answer.
I changed my answer to GLaDOS.
I was like, I hold her pretty high up on my personal list.
She also, for as crazy as that game is, feels like a real quote-unquote person, where the King of all Cosmos is just like somehow a parody of himself from the beginning somehow. I like the moment he's on screen, you're like, well, this guy's a parody of, let me check my notes here, the Prince of all Cosmos.
But you know what would be a great game or a crossover is a God of War game where Kratos has to kill the King of all Cosmos. Like that's like his final god that he has to go after.
That is I'm gonna Google if there's art for that.
If there isn't, please submit your reader art and we will feature it in the magazine of Kratos killing him.
Kratos rolling around a big ball of stuff and just like angrily
because that's how he has to get to him. He has to keep rolling Katamari so that he can gain his trust and then get close enough to where he can rip his head off.
I googled Kratos versus King of all Cosmos and nothing comes up.
There's no YouTube death battle for that.
I guess he's not really like a religious. He's not like a religious canon, right? He's just the king.
Well, I mean, technically Norse. They're not like a religion like the Norse pantheon.
I mean, I don't want to.
I thought people just believed in them, but like, I mean, I guess it depends on what you define.
Yeah,
organized religion.
Is the King of all Cosmos? Does he have followers that believe in him? And like, I don't know.
I mean, look at him. I mean, he's a king. So a king, what's a king without subjects? Like he has to have someone that people he rules over. Otherwise, what's the point of being a king of anything?
You're right. You're always right, dude.
I'm just saying, you know. Alrighty. Chalkbull's last quick question: Which GI host had the best intro tagline? Was it Big Man Swag, which was Alex Stadnick's? I don't know if I remember.
I don't remember when. Yeah, you'd have to put him in front of me. I don't know.
Yeah, like Big Man Swag was Alex Stadnick's.
That's how they would kick off the show.
It was like, I think it was actually, it was part of the original intro, the one that, you know, we say at the beginning, where I think it was like exclusive. I'm trying to remember where it fit in, but it was in there for sure until he left.
By the way, I just DM'd Charles a sexy picture of the King of all Cosmos, kind of doing.
Oh, a sexy one.
I mean, not really. It's not explicit.
His
it's
legs.
Just he's doing the Seinfeld like, you know, sexy boudoir photo, and Charles just gave me a thumbs down emoji.
Oh, not a fan. Okay,
not a fan.
I don't remember. God, did Hansen have one for as many episodes as he hosted? I feel like I should remember, but I just I don't know. Is it Stadnik by default? Because he had the one
he
that
had
we can
a-
remember. Yeah, the most memorable one, I guess.
I think everyone else is just welcome to the Game Informer show, probably.
I guess creativity for Stadnik. He had one. Should we have one? Is that the message
I was
here?
just gonna say, yeah.
God.
Do you guys each need to have one for the weeks that you host the show?
Oh, like our own individual. Yeah, like I have a. I don't know. What's my swag? I don't know.
I think I'm good.
That's your
I'm all
tagline.
set.
I'm
I'm
good.
I'm good.
There was a period of time this is really throwback. I don't know if anyone will even know what I'm talking about, but like right when I started at Game Informer, I tried to do a bit where I was like, I needed a catchphrase. So like if you go back to like 2011, 2012 episodes of Replay, I'm always like, I got to come up with a catchphrase to the point. And then the bit was my catchphrase is like, I need a catchphrase, which I don't know. In retrospect, I don't think that's very funny. but at the time, I thought I was being very clever.
I like it.
Next question by the Grolf Elden Ring via Discord. How would you make your favorite video game better? Every game could always use a quality of life update or change that wasn't designed into it. Monday morning game designer your way to the best version of your 10 out of 10 perfect game.
Completely eliminate loading of any kind from Ocarina of Time. Just like that's a simple one that would just make that world feel more alive.
Just put it on an SSD, just bring it to PS5 and.
But like also, I want to be able to see, like I want to be able to be in like Kakariko Village and look out to Hyrule Field and see it, like where Breath of the Wild was basically. Like I want it to just be continuous and never loading, because then it just feels like such a real world at
I
that
bet that
point.
mod exists.
I'm sure it does. I've seen mods where people Mario Kart drive through the Ocarina of Time like world, which is bizarre. That's a simple one. I'm sure there's better examples. Marcus is putting us on the spot for all these questions, to be clear. We did not get any heads up, which is fine. I'm not saying we needed any.
Yeah, you weren't going to get it. I guess, again, going back to my, like, I don't really have definitive favorite things. I guess the game that I think I've said publicly was the closest thing to my favorite game ever was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Just because of, like, time and place, and it's the game I've beaten the most by far. I guess to make that game, I'm trying to think of, like, oh, you know what? Tails is AI, because, like, Tails is famously, almost useless in that game. Especially if you try to play, like, the sort of, like, kind of, like, half-implemented co-op mode where, like, my younger brother would always have to play Tails, and, like, the moment Sonic leaves the screen, you're just, like, helpless. You just gotta, like, wait for him to respawn and fly back in, and then you can pretend that you're on an adventure together, but it's really the Sonic player that's running the show.
Right, yeah.
So maybe if there's a way, and it's funny, I guess they tried to do that with Sonic Superstars. God, I already forgot the name of the 4-player one. And that only was more of a disaster because there was more players that could get lost besides Tails, because it was still very much like, it just sort of proved like I don't think Sonic works with co-op. Like, just that formula, it just it's not suited for co-op. You just go too fast. Nobody wants to slow down in the Sonic game because your buddy can't keep up or misses a jump or something, you know?
Was there there was racing in like Sonic 2 and 3, right? Wasn't there like a split screen mode where you could like race?
Yeah, but it's not co-op. It's like competitive. No. I mean, but that's the way to do it. Is like give them their own screen.
Like I think that's the only way to do it, really.
Yeah, let them explore. Don't give any penalty of like, hey, if we get separated, it's fine. They'll get to where they're. If they get to the end at their own pace, it's fine. So yeah, I guess maybe the solution is there already, but it's just like it's a separate mode and not the main mode. Mm-hmm. And again, it's more competitive but yeah, fix that. That's the biggest thing wrong with Sonic 2.
I would Kid Icarus Uprising, put on Switch, give it twin stick controls, because in the
less
original
carpal tunnel inducing controls.
Yeah, it was like you hold your left hand.
Oh yeah,
holds like the D-pad, right? Is it left?
It was like
hand?
A circle pad, right?
The circle pad, yeah. Sorry. Your left hand does that, and then your right hand, you control the camera with the stylus on the screen, so you're like holding it with one hand, and then you shoot with the left trigger, And like I got used to it. I also have really big hands, so I don't know if that made it easier for me.
Did you use the stand that came with it? Because that was the other thing, they sold a stand.
I forgot about that stand.
Yeah.
It was just always weird. Like I didn't want to hunch over on like a table and hold it up. Like it was never.
But they wanted you to, though.
They did want it to. But yeah, like that game, I'm so confident that if that game just came to a platform where the controls weren't bad, it would be hailed as like people would love it so much.
We would be talking about it every day.
We really would be. We would be six games deep into that franchise now.
Do you, Charles? Did you stumble across that game and just fall in love with it, or was it like I love Smash Brothers? I want to play this because of Smash Brothers, or
this was in like an early point in my like interest in games as like a more general thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was some like app on the Wii where you could watch like trailers or something, like some Nintendo Inside thing. And I remember seeing a thing of like them talking about Kid Icarus Uprising, and like it was like a 10-minute or maybe like a 2-minute, I don't know, video of people playing it and talking about it. And that being like my exposure to it and being like, oh, this game looks so cool. And then it came out like a few days before like my 12th birthday, I think. It came out in 2012. So it was that birthday I got Batman Arkham City, Kid Icarus Uprising, and a Nerf double-bladed sword.
That's a hell of a birthday.
It's like maybe my second best birthday.
It's a good haul.
I'm curious because like for me it was Kid Icarus I was interested in purely because of Sakurai. I was like, I want to play a Sakurai game that's not called Smash Brothers. What I haven't really done that since like classic Kirby. What does that look like these days?
Yeah, and I had no idea it was the same dude.
Okay, yeah. But had you played as Kid Icarus, like in Smash Brothers, or it was like just
yeah.
Okay,
is he still like your main? Are you good with Kid Icarus in Smash?
Oh, I was never good. I also just really liked bows and arrows as a kid, just like in fiction, so I think that's why I picked him, but I was always terrible as him. But it was like it went from like a mild interest in the character to me playing this game and being like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, also Pit famously broken in Brawl.
Actually,
he was pretty. I loved using Pit, and I still do, but a lot of it because he had that spinny attack. He'd be like, ready to go, and it could block things, and it could tear people apart. That's why they took it away in Ultimate. He doesn't do it anymore, but it was a really good move in Brawl. Also, I just thought of like, do you think churches are cool with Pit? Like a Catholic, or like if you went to like a Catholic church, like if you went to the Vatican and you showed a video of Pitt like kicking ass to the Pope, do you think they'd be like offended? Like, what have you done to an angel? Or do you think they'd be like proud and be like, oh wow, this represents us so well?
It's a Greek myth thing to me. Like it's Icarus, so it's not like
I mean, he's like an angel though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's not like a Christian angel.
No, I think
like,
he's.
I mean, he
Greek.
looks like he is.
Isn't it like fully? I mean, you're fighting like cyclopses and stuff. Like it's always.
I mean,
it
is based in Greek,
right?
but he looks like a stereotypical.
He does. No, you're correct.
I see.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying,
like,
Marcus. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Pope would have so many more questions before this is settled. He'd be like, "Why are these?" I don't know if the Pope has any concept of what Smash Bros is. I don't know if he ever opened that copy of Undertale Matt Pat gave him.
He does.
Yeah, it's like he's already got his doorway into gaming. Like he's probably beaten Undertale like 5 times by this point.
He does love Undertale.
He's gotten every run, every type of ending.
He only does the pacifist ending every time.
Yeah. At least in public, he does.
Have you ever seen that video?
Oh, sure.
Have you guys ever seen that video? It's like of people were like performing for the Pope.
And that's what we're talking about.
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Because that's where I know the Undertale reference, because they were performing to like Undertale soundtrack, but someone gave him a copy of the game as well. Like, is this
Matt Pat of Game Theory?
Okay,
that was like that's how I know about it. Is he made a video about the fact that he gave the Pope Undertale and talked about why he thinks Undertale is a perfect game to give to just to encompass games in general. But it is very funny in the context of the video. It's like, yeah, that's a great decision, and then I actually
It's gonna be like, the Vatican has like sealed archives of all this stuff. Like a copy of Undertale is gonna be in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, because they probably
like,
get all kinds of gifts and stuff, right?
yeah, like ancient scrolls and like religious artifacts, and then like Undertale just next to like the Ark of the Covenant or something,
or whatever they're keeping in there.
I hope Toby Fox sends him a Deltarune review code when that full game comes out.
Or just like he just sends him a code for like the first couple episodes. It's like, sorry, you're gonna have to buy episode 3.
Yeah, you gotta take some church ties to fund this. Creator via Discord asks, if GI was a game, would it be an interactive novel or walking simulator? Which game would it be? If Game Informer, would it be like working at Game Informer? What kind of game would that be?
You know that Sonic game, and I think there was a Rayman game that was like running, like it was a racing game, but it was running.
Yeah, like a mobile game.
No. Like it was I think it was called like Sonic Rush, and then there was also like you guys are looking at me like I'm an insane person.
No, was that like on the PSP?
No, it was like before then. It was like.
Sure, it's the Sonic mobile game that is based.
I mean, there
like
is
the Auto Runner,
but yes, those exist. But the one that I'm thinking of is like. The weird Sonic R for the Sega Saturn, because
the racing game.
It was a racing game, but you were running.
With the amazing song.
Yeah, like the race was that you were running, and then Rayman also did a game like that. And the point I'm getting at is it would be like that, and we'd be running towards our deadlines.
with a really good theme song.
Exactly.
Playing the whole time. Everybody's
just holding
racing.
A laptop like this and typing as we run.
Yeah, just sending it through editing passes. It's like a relay race. Like we pass the baton, but it's us passing the article. So like, okay, he needs a second pass. Here you go. Yeah,
that's what it would be.
I thought of like God, there's a game called, I don't think anyone's ever played this, but it's a game called Headliner Novi News. If anyone remembers this from like years ago, I reviewed it when I was at Screen Rant way back in the day.
Can you say it again? Headliner
Novi News, Novinews.
I'm looking it up
like
while you're talking.
Novi, about it. Novi, and the first N in news is capitalized, but it's basically a game where you work at you run like a newspaper, you work like at a newspaper, and it's like a visual novel where you make choices about what stories to run and whether or not you're basically going to be like an ethical journalist or like sensational, and like depending on your choices, it sort of steers the fate of not only the paper but like the relationships of like your coworkers and like your personal life and stuff like that. Of like, oh, should I run this political thing that like, I don't know, we got this big scoop that could like really overturn some stuff in maybe like unexpectedly bad ways, but like it's probably better to get the truth out there, like stuff like that. Would that be us? But like, I don't know. Do we write up this press release for this game? It's like the stakes are a lot lower, but I don't know. Does this game look cool? Do we have time to write about this? I don't know.
I like a version where it's like the way in like Nintendo Switch Online, there's just a bunch of games in there. Like the game is just you playing other games. That's just the whole game. And then, there's like a Yelp review section at the end. You say what it is. That's what I think. It would just be like a collection of like, I don't know. The game would be like Game Informer : 2001, and then it would be like the greatest hits of 2001, and then you'd play them all and review them, and then depending on how close you got to the Game Informer review, you'd get like win or lose points or something.
Sure. Basically, any indie developers listening, I hope we gave you some ideas for Game Informer, the video game, which sounds funny. It's like Game Informer, the interactive video game. There you go. Luke Skywalker via Discord, quick question asks, what's your favorite stratagem in Helldivers 2 right now?
Oh, I haven't played enough to have one, truly.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, actually. I feel bad.
Are the arrows?
Yeah, like the cheat codes, the airdrops. I like the fire one, actually. The one that just rains a bunch of fire. That was pretty cool, and it's funny when you accidentally kill your teammate with it.
I think I saw someone program like those like Elgato keypads where you can just like program a bunch of buttons. I saw someone just program one of those buttons to be the input, right?
Oh, you know what?
Which is
cool?
like, I was like, that's pretty smart. I thought that was cool, but it wasn't like a favorite. thing, a favorite.
Right. You know, it'd be cool if you could somehow plug in a power glove to your PS5 and just do that, just wear a Nintendo Power Glove and just punch in the arrows with that keypad. It's
cool.
pretty much the same thing. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, somebody do that. Charles, Helldivers 2, big fan.
I was gonna say left upright. That's wait, Kyle, you know what song that is from Ocarina of Time?
Oh, I don't. I'm not. I love Ocarina. I don't know what song that is. I'm not. That.
I was like, your eyes perked
lullaby.
up like a familiarity when he said it.
Yeah.
I said I was gonna make that meme and I never did.
Oh, it's too late. You blew it.
Yeah, it's not too late. The game's still really popular. You can still do it.
Moments passed.
All right, last questions, and by that I mean it's the last person to ask a question, but they have multiple. Somebody's gonna be pretty
Alexa,
quick,
open the back.
Wait, what? Oh.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I tried to turn off my
say?
mic and I missed the button, but I was talking to my Alexa to open the back door to let the dog in.
Okay, what? Oh my god, that's so fancy. You're
Yeah.
showing off your smart house.
Cool.
In fact, it is snowing very heavily here in Minnesota right now. You guys continue. I'm just gonna go towel that dog off real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, Charles, Troidal Power via Discord ask a couple of several questions. First and foremost, what print magazines were foundational in your childhood? I got into GI when I was a teenager, but before that, it was all Nintendo Power and Disney Adventures, which I don't know Disney Adventures.
I don't either. I mean, for me, it was all Game Informer. I was never. I mean, I don't know if Highlights counts.
Yeah, it's a magazine.
I
I used to read Yeah, highlights are always at doctors' offices. You get like
the find the pictures in there.
Highlights was the one that had Goofus and Gallant, right?
Yeah,
that was the one I liked reading the most because the situations were so absurd sometimes. Mainly from like Goofus of like, how could someone be this stupid? And then like, here's Gallant doing the exact opposite of this idiot thing.
Well, it's also like Gallant walks around the puddle and Goofus stomps on it and shoves people in it and takes his shoe off and rubs it around in there.
There's an exposed power line in the puddle and now he's getting electrocuted because he's an idiot. And Gallant, he just walked around it and that was it.
Gallant helps the old lady cross the street. Goofus pushes her into oncoming traffic and then shoots her afterwards to make sure the job is done.
I legit would like to be part of the Goofus and Gallant writing team if that was just it. Like, just coming up, it seems very easy, but also very fun. Of like, how can I come up with the dumbest, like, meanest things for this character? And then Gallant literally it's like autopilot, and then just do the reasonable opposite of that.
Did you guys mention EGM? Were you guys? I was a big EGM reader, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
I read it, but I didn't read it like religiously. Like I would like read pages of it when I was like at a grocery store and stuff like that. But I wasn't like a subscriber. Like Game Informer was the magazine I was subscribed to in terms of video games specifically.
Yeah.
But yeah, EGM and like Nintendo Power and those other stuff. Those were more like I would either go to friends' houses or I would see them in stores, and you know, like when your mom's shopping, you just sit there and read like half the magazine and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, Nintendo Power and EGM and Game Informer, but really, truly, like those two were what I was. Game Informer came a little later for me, but Nintendo Power and EGM were huge for me, and like OneUp.com and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, I saw it was like I guess non-magazines. You guys might be surprised to hear this, but I was subscribed to WWF magazine for a while.
And you're not anymore?
Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. I think they got rid of the magazine in like the late 2000s, like 08, sounds right. 08, 09, something like that. But it was very funny, and it was just a very interesting concept because it wasn't like behind the scenes stuff. It was like they're still in character, but it's a magazine. So they'd have interviews with like Steve Austin. Like I remember reading the interview with Steve Austin when he turned heel after WrestleMania 17. And it's like Steve Austin, the character, explaining why he's now aligned with Vince McMahon and why he was like a bad guy now. But again, it's weird because it's like layers of like fiction.
My God, that is so. That's like if I were like reading a magazine about Batman after Dark Knight came out, and it was like Christian Bale talking about how he defeated the Joker.
But literally, it's that, and I used to wonder of like, did they actually get Austin to sit down and give an
It's like a
in-character
question.
interview. Like, at that point, do you just get like a ghostwriter? Like, I can write in his voice because we're not going to waste Steve Austin's time to
Yeah,
give us a written interview in character.
maybe he looks at it and approves it. Maybe. But
Yeah, like that's what I was
yeah,
like. There's
what a
no way they
weird
do that, right?
idea.
They had
never
Kane give an
thought about
interview.
that.
Who Kane was, it was a masked wrestler whose face was burned by the Undertaker. They were brothers, and so like for the longest time he didn't speak, and then when he did speak, he didn't speak much. But I remember they had a whole like 2-page interview with him talking, and I remember as a kid it blew my mind of like how did they get this information? This is when I still thought wrestling was real, by the way. But I was like, how did they get this information from this scary burned mute monster man where he's speaking in complete like eloquent sentences about like his goals for being a wrestler?
So funny and weird. I never thought about that like additional layer. That is so strange.
I gotta look up some of those old magazines. Oh God, I didn't even set this up. Troy Bauer's next question was, who do you think you could beat up for real in a wrestling ring? Now they said shoot beat up. What shoot in wrestling terms means real. Like, who do you think you could shoot fight? Like, who do you think you could actually take on for real in a ring? And I guess maybe it doesn't have to be a wrestler. They just said in a wrestling ring. They didn't say you have to fight
Right.
a wrestler.
Gallant.
Gallant.
I wouldn't stand a chance. You'd try
Oh
to
wait,
shake my
you don't think you
hand.
could? I think you're saying you could beat him.
Yeah, could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do say. Yeah. Gallant
Because
would give
Goofus
up.
is the jerk, right?
He's the idiot.
Goofus
Okay,
is
because
the
like
jerk.
yeah,
I
Goofus
probably-
he would fight dirty and it would be scary, right?
But then
it would
again,
be
you could probably beat him by outsmarting him. You know, like you could probably get him
Yeah.
to like hit himself, basically, because he's a moron.
Yeah, Goofus would have. He'd hit me in the head with a baseball bat, but when he went to ask to borrow the baseball bat, he spit in his friend's face and then threw his shoes outside, so he didn't get the baseball bat. There's all these steps that Goofus fails to do until he actually shows up late. Is the worst part. So I'm just waiting there.
Yeah,
It makes you think
yeah.
about it. It's mind games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hold on, there's
that's
something
true. That's true.
I could probably beat up. I don't know. If I'm gonna, I could probably beat up James Ellsworth. He was a like a loser wrestling guy. He's like a scrawny dude. He was like basically a comedy wrestler. I could go on my own against him. He didn't have a chin. Famously no chin.
What's the good name again? I'm gonna Google it.
James Ellsworth. You're gonna love it, Kyle, when you see him.
I assumed it was like a Sir Patrick
wow.
Stewart type.
Okay, this just looks like a dude. I can't even explain it. He just looks like a guy. Like he's not like he's wearing a wrestling outfit, but
He
he's
is a wrestler.
but he's just a dude. Like it does. He doesn't look like he's hardly like worked out at all, really.
And Kyle, he was presented exactly the way you would think he would be. Of like, yeah, he was the guy that was like a joke and would just get destroyed by the real wrestlers, basically.
pretty funny. What a weird thing.
It's like the Glass Joe of wrestling. Yeah.
And that's my pick, Glass Joe.
Oh, yeah, so that's probably the best pick. Yeah, actually. Yeah. Next question. What's your favorite dish, utensil, cup, or cookware? I don't know.
I mean, a fork.
I
I feel like a fork's pretty good. Gets a lot done. Could stand in for a knife. Could stand in for a spoon. To a
Well,
certain
actually,
degree.
can it? Oh, you're gonna say like eating cereal with forks, you can save the milk.
Yeah, I mean, it would. You could. I mean, I do like. I
You just
have.
pour it back in the bottle when you're done. You're just like, oh,
I
milk
have
is
been
done.
getting better with chopsticks over the years, and now I find them quite valuable and useful.
I still can't use them the right way. I have a very like Franken way of doing it that I know is incorrect and probably offends Japanese people. Like every time I've gone to Japan, I'm like very self-conscious about how I eat chopsticks. I'm like, this is the only way I know how to do it. Otherwise, I gotta ask for a fork.
Yeah. I was like,
so-
pretty young. I feel like I was like mid high school, and for some reason I just was like, I have to learn how to use chopsticks. If I ever go to Japan, I gotta
have
be
to.
cool. I want to be like, oh look, this American that we didn't expect to be able to use chopsticks. He's using chopsticks. That was always like my goal.
You thought you'd be the first American that could
Yeah,
show them
right.
how
I
to
just
use
wanted
chopsticks?
to surprise them. I just didn't want them to think I was a dumb tourist.
Okay.
I mean, so I'm okay at them, but yeah,
And I'm just okay.
and I'm just okay.
So wait, is chopsticks your answer,
I guess so.
or you're saying? Or you're saying forks? Like, what's your favorite?
I mean, I think I still would always prefer take a fork, right? Like for, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I have an easier time with a fork.
Yeah. I feel like a cast iron skillet. It's probably the best cookware.
You gotta
not
hand
like a
wash
good old
those.
fat. Yeah, but like it's worth the work that goes into them. Like they treat you well when you treat it well. You know.
You get in what you get what you put into it, right? Is that the yeah?
Yeah, which usually is like fried food.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I mean, I use my rice maker maybe every day, if not every other day.
Yeah.
I do eat a lot of rice, and that's like an
I
easy
just-
thing to just like cup of rice, cup of water. I'll come back in 10 minutes.
I know how to make rice in a pot, so I've never seen the point of buying a dedicated rice maker. It's like it's not hard to just make it in a pot.
It's not
It
hard.
just takes up extra
but
space, you know?
It's like making toast in an oven, where it's like it's
That's a good
perfectly possible. It's not even that much more work, but like once you have the thing that just does rice, like it's surprisingly nice to have.
Yeah. And it's good, right? It's not like a microwave thing where it's like, well, I put it in the microwave and it won't taste as good. Like using the rice maker, the rice is as good as it would have been off the stove.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get a rice maker. It'll change your life.
My answer is a spoon rest. That's like a good it's just like a little ceramic thing you can rest the spoon on while you're like making sauce or doing whatever.
Yes,
just so you don't have to
I-
like set it down on the counter.
I agree. Or you don't have to waste paper towels. Like you gotta
Yeah.
fold in. You don't want to get the stove messy. Yeah. I actually bought one of those at like a Walmart like not long ago because you realize like I should just. What if I just had a thing that was just for this and not having to find makeshift solutions and stuff, you know? And it changed my life.
My thing is, I also bought one recently, but I don't want to get it dirty. I'm like,
I have
what did I do
two
to
for
myself?
what it's worth.
That's what it's for, Kyle.
I know it's stupid.
It wants to be dirty. It's like, please, dirty me up. Give me purpose in my life, please.
Give me purpose.
Why did you buy me if you aren't going to use me? If it was like the Brave Little Toaster, it would talk to you like that. Also, shout out to the Brave Little Toaster.
Shout out to the Brave. They should make a Brave Little rice maker, and then maybe Marcus would get one.
Yeah, if it had eyeballs and talked to me, I'm more inclined to buy
I mean,
it.
dude, that probably exists. Like Japan would, I'm sure they manufactured something adorable
That's
like
true.
It just tells you like rice is done. Like it's got a cute little voice or something.
that. Yeah.
They have all the songs and stuff, so yeah, there's got to be a talking one.
God. Next random question: how many video games can you balance in your head right now? I mean, you don't have to do it, but oh wait, Kyle's gonna do it. Oh wait, Charles is gonna do it. So I don't have any physical games nearby, so I can't. All right, Kyle has 2 games on his head. Looks like an Xbox game and a PSP game.
Everyone would have guessed it. It's Cyberpunk and Avatar for the PSP. You know, I didn't even have to say it out loud. That's gosh,
You're putting the PSP game on the bottom and the much larger Xbox game on top. Interesting strategy, but it's working. It's on there. Now, granted,
Charles.
Kyle's. Oh! I was like, whoa! I thought
I'm
Charles
still
came back
winning.
with a stack of Wii games.
Did that count?
No, that don't count.
I mean, does it count that Kyle is resting it on his headphones and not his actual skull? Like he has a flat surface with his headphones.
Rotate mine back.
Fine.
I'm just saying. You
Marcus.
know. Okay, Charles has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Wii games, if I counted correctly. And he's kept them on his head for at least 4 seconds.
Hold on, I've got at least like 20 games installed on my iPhone.
I mean, I guess that technically,
Boo.
you know, you call that work
And then
smarter,
there's like
not harder.
5 or 6 on my play date here.
Yeah, we're just stacking up. Yeah,
Ta-da! However many that is.
there you go. I could not participate because I don't have any physical media in this room to put on my head. I'm sorry.
Marcus, you don't keep a copy of Avatar for PSP on your desk at all
Well,
times?
all my games are on the cloud, so technically they're in ether, so they're always like above my head.
Okay.
Like
Whoa.
so yeah, that's like hundreds of games probably.
You worked way smarter than we did.
Yeah, you know, get with the times, man. What's the worst video game that you like?
Ooh, weird question.
That's a great question.
Worst video game that
I mean,
like.
Charles, is it not Sonic and the Black Knight?
I feel like
Not to answer for you, but I mean, that's what I thought of immediately.
I talk about that game. The amount of which I've mentioned Sonic.
I'm just saying.
The amount I've talked about that game on this show specifically, in contrast to the amount of time in my actual life that I've played it or considered it good, is like so disproportionate. That's probably that could be an answer. Maybe like the first Lego Star Wars. Like I would never. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. Is that a
Sonny's
bad
own best.
game?
That's a good game, I think.
I guess
Or is
also
it just fine?
It's just old, is what it is.
Okay.
I'll think of an actually bad game.
The one I always think of, because this question is presented to me all the time. No, the one that comes to mind is One Piece World Seeker, which was an open world One Piece game that came out in like 2019. And I played that game and reviewed it, and I remember like being like, "This is great. This is exactly what I want from One Piece. I'm like Luffy Spider-Maning around this open world. This is fantastic." I think I gave the review. I gave it like an 8, and I was like, "I wonder if I'm going to be on the low end of this." And it came out, and it was like 5s, and I was like, "Oh, I liked this game a lot more than other people."
Okay.
So One Piece World Seeker, still my favorite One Piece video game, for like easily.
Maybe Crackdown 3?
That's
For
a good
me,
one. I like
I
that game.
remember-
Okay.
That game is not good, and there's so many things wrong with it. But for whatever reason, when I played it, it like scratched a sweet spot of just like mindless fun that I wound up just like beating that game, and it was a good podcast game too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna put on a show and just go blow stuff up. I don't care what's happening. The game barely cares about what's happening. And yeah, I remember just walking away, and be like, yeah, I had a good time in there, while fully acknowledging its myriad of problems.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's funny, Suicide Squad was kind of almost in that same vein, but like not quite, because that game was more depressing because of like I did want to like it.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I actually finished it not long ago.
Oh yeah, we should do a spoiler.
We should. I'm with you, Kyle. Where like I got more bummed out the closer I got to the end, and then when I got to the end, quote unquote, I was like, why did this exist?
I was like, that's it,
Like,
huh? That's where we are.
It ends on a real like wet fart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is crazy. I'm gonna put it out there. I think I'm gonna try Joker when he comes. Like, I think I will boot it back up and try the new character.
That's the day this podcast drops.
Oh, is he
I think.
out now?
No, it's
Is it?
this week.
Maybe.
Okay. I think I might do it. We'll see.
I already uninstalled it.
No,
so you
I
tell
haven't
me
done
how-
that yet.
You tell me how it is, and maybe I'll think about it. Like, I uninstalled it as soon as the credits ended. So
Yeah, it's funny. That game is like, ooh, we're leaving it open for more. And I think you and me both were kind of like, hey, I'm good.
I won't be here for it. I'm sorry. unless you really do something drastic. Final question of the show: did you have a multiplayer game of choice when you were 12?
What grade is that? 12.
Six
or
or
seven?
or 6 and
It's like 6 and 7,
sorry.
right?
Yeah, 6 and 7.
Okay.
So in my math, I was born in 87, so I would have been 12, 1999. I didn't play. It might have still been GoldenEye, honestly.
I think it was GoldenEye for me. Yeah, GoldenEye
Yes.
was the one, I think.
If we're talking like competitive, I guess if it's like cooperative, like a game that you can just play with friends, like
Even more so than Mario Kart, GoldenEye was a little bit more like easier to hang out in, because you could just there were like hundreds of, not hundreds, there were a ton of different modes, and you could just kind of be in the level together, where Mario Kart is like you race for 5 minutes and then you decide if you want to do another race, you know?
Yeah. GoldenEye's like the ultimate sleepover game, which is how I played it a lot, because I didn't have an N64. So I guess for a game that I specifically owned at that time, maybe like Crash Team Racing. I think that was out in 99.
Interesting.
I love Crash Team Racing. Like, I argued for years that I was like, it's as good as Mario Kart 64, if not better in some ways. And I still think it's like the best non-Mario Kart racer, pretty much. And I think that new one that came out like 2 years ago
Well, they remade
kind of like
it, right?
solidified it. Yeah, like, and it's still fun.
Cool.
God, I'm looking at something. I'm like, what's Trash Team Racing out in? Okay, that was 99. Okay, I was like, was that 2000? Okay, so yeah, okay.
I think mine is probably unequivocally Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Brawl specifically.
I'm pretty sure
huh?
is what was big. It was like to the point, well, because it was like I don't even think I didn't play Melee till like I was in college, which was like 5 years ago. Like because everyone had a Wii and not that many people had a GameCube in the first place, like as a kid.
Yeah.
And then copies of Melee were at that time kind of hard to come by. It was still really expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, even back then, which wasn't just a generation removed.
Yeah. And it was to the point of like in the way like when Skyrim was a thing, people were like, oh, is there ever going to be a Skyrim 2? Like not understanding it's like the 5th Elder Scrolls game. They just know the name Skyrim. I think people were like, oh yeah, Brawl. I love that game, Brawl. Like not knowing it was a Super Smash Bros. Or knowing that there were games before that.
I remember seeing Final Fantasy VII commercials when I was young and just not believing that it was the 7th game. Like I thought it was like that was part of the title, like Big Hero 6, like Final Fantasy 7. And then I was like, wait, there were 6? How have I never heard of these? Like I really had never like even though I was playing Super Nintendo and stuff, I'd heard of Chrono Trigger, but for some reason Final Fantasy like passed me by. I don't know why.
You thought there were 7 clouds in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
I like I'll tell my partner about video games, and if she's not like super in tune with them or hasn't heard of them, her reaction is always funny. Of like, it's like, oh yeah, Toriyama passed away recently, and I was telling her about like the Dragon Quest games. Like, yeah, Dragon Quest, I think 11 was the one. She's like, there aren't that many. There can't be that. I've never heard of this. You're telling me there's 11 of them?
A reasonable reaction, frankly, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she lose her mind when he said there's going to be a 12th one eventually?
I couldn't break that to her. It was too much. It was too much for her to process in that moment.
Could barely handle
God forbid
11.
you mention any of the spin-offs. I mean,
oh yeah,
there were 2
yeah,
Builder games alone.
She's like, how are you playing? Why did you play Final Fantasy 16 last year and now 7 is out? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you're going to lose your mind when I tell you there's actually way more than 16 of these.
Oh my gosh.
Objectively, she is correct. How do you go from 16 to 7? And it's like not even it's a remake of 7. It's like
it's the second part of
the second part.
Oh yeah, don't
of
even
the
get into
7th
that.
entry.
It's 7-2, by the way.
Yeah,
7 remake
or 7-3 technically if you count the original.
I still remember laughing when 10-2 was announced, and we were just like, "What a ridiculous idea!" Now it's like we're getting ready for the 3rd Final Fantasy VII sequel.
Did you know that 10-2 came out the same year as X2? The second X-Men movie, which also used that same title.
That's funny.
So we just call it Final Fantasy X2 X-Men United. It's the full title.
That's good.
Yeah, that was the year of X-2, 2003.
I'm still waiting for them to do that with a movie. Like there was some because like Aliens, the Alien franchise is a good example of like after Aliens, the sequel, it kind of falls off, and like. The District 9 director was talking about making a sequel to Aliens, right? Like, let's not worry about 3 and Prometheus and all those other movies. I'm going to make Aliens 2. Like they haven't done that in the film world quite yet.
Yeah, I guess all the other ones, they just Alien singular with a subtitle, but that's still the only one plural. Even the new one, I don't even remember what this subtitle for the new one is that's coming out.
Looks cool, though.
I haven't watched the trailer yet. Covenant was not a good movie, so my hopes are not high.
It looks. The thing about that trailer, this is a tangent episode, but like I watched that trailer and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like they built a set, and I think they might have shot the whole movie in that one set, which was like a very exciting idea to me, as opposed to like a bunch of green screens and digital sets and they move around a lot. It looks like the whole movie takes place in one set, and they just reposition the camera depending on the scene, which is like weirdly very exciting for me.
Yeah. Does the xenomorph look practical or?
Oh no, the xenomorph is CG. Yeah, there's no going back on that. Sadly, I would love that though. Get a big, tall, skinny guy in a suit. Worked for the first movie.
There we go. He's probably still around. That guy.
Yeah.
Did it. Get him back in there. He's probably not old or anything. can't handle the weight of that suit, however heavy it was. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's the last question, everybody. That wraps up episode 700 of the Game Informer Show, the ultimate reader discussion episode. Thank you guys so much for dropping us questions, and obviously we'll have more listener questions in the future, so feel free to, again, either if you're in the Discord, pop into the Game Informer Show's channel, drop us a question. I usually make a call for them, usually the morning of recording. And as always, if you're not in the Discord, you can email us, podcast@gameinformer.com, with anything that you want to ask. We really appreciate it. We love interacting with you guys. And also, it's the only time we get to probably talk about weird, dumb stuff that has nothing to do with video games. Like about how much Kyle loves forks.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And Marcus, I mean, something to add to the sort of the end of this episode. Y'all are going to get real tired of us saying it, and that's fine. Subscription.gameinformer.com. Go subscribe to the magazine. It is the primary way to support us, and you get a cool magazine. You get 10 issues a year for that price, for $19.91. Go do it. Subscription.gameinformer.com.
Exactly. Subscribe to us directly. It's great. Do a bit of housekeeping as we wrap up. In addition to that, you can still buy single issues of Game Informer 2 at GameStop. $7.99 each. You got the you see there, if you're watching the video version, in Charles's frame, he has the No Rest for the Wicked cover story. I wrote that thing. So you can buy that right now. It looks really nice. I love the art for that so much. So you can get that now, as well as other issues of Game Informer. Just visit your local GameStop. Again, single issue, $7.99. Be sure to follow us on social media. I'm at Marcus Stewart 7 on Twitter. Kyle, you're at Kyle M. Hilliard online. And Charles, you're at Chuck Duck. You have numbers at the end of your name. I don't remember what it is. What is it? Chuck Duck?
It's every day of the year.
Oh, 365. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Baby.
Except for this year, because there was a leap year. So actually, there was one day when you weren't.
That's true. I do sometimes, if I need to make a second burner account for something, I will be Chuck Duck 366.
Okay, well, now you've exposed yourself, so you got to change that if you do it. So there.
I don't know. It's like if I'm... Yeah, I know.
Yes, and you can also follow Game Informer online at various platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Do we still know if TikTok's going to be around, or should we even bother talking?
We'll keep going with it.
We'll go out swinging.
Yeah. TikTok while you can,
or
you
go
can
out just gently shrugging our shoulders. It's like, whatever, it's fine.
You can't fight City Hall. That's what Rocco's Modern Life taught me. Where else taught me? Threads, Blue Sky, and yeah.
Instagram.
Also, I said Instagram.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
But I'll say it again. For the third time.
TikTok.
Instagram. Yes. Also on Twitch. Check us out. We usually try to stream at least twice a week. Twitch.tv/GameInformer. Every Friday, Kyle and I have our Super Replay series. Currently in the middle of playing the entirety of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Check that out. If you're not able to catch us live, you can catch us on one of our 2 YouTube channels. We have our primary channel, Game Informer, on YouTube. And if you want to check out our Twitch archives, you can check out Game Informer shows. That's where the GI Show video version lives. That's where all of our replay episodes live. That's where all of our longer form Twitch streams and stuff. All of it is on Game Informer shows, that second YouTube channel. And of course, you can check out for the final week, All Things Nintendo with Brian Shea this week. The last episode that will be under the Game Informer show. Or the Game Informer banner, I should say, because he's taking that show independent. So the show will still exist, but it just won't be under the Game Informer umbrella. So this will be the last week. So please give that a listen. And of course, an extra super special shout out to our awesome podcast editor, Matt Storm, aka DJ Stormageddon. Be sure to check out their podcast, Fun and Games, as well as Reignite, which is a BioWare podcast. And yeah, I think there's no better way to close out the 700th episode of the Game Informer show than with a Charles Harte lunch song in a segment that we call, as I scroll down because the title is, okay, excuse me, The Lunch Break, like a dance break, but with lunch, in parentheses, working title. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in episode 701. Bye-bye, everyone.
you get it. Yeah, you get it.